morning, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order at this time, and I'm going to ask you to rise, please, for invocation. And please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America, to our Texas flags. I see we have Reverend Carrington. Oh, I'm not on the mic. Forgive me. Let me just do a quick repeat. I am calling this meeting to order. Good morning. And at this time, thank you for rising for invocation. And also, please remain standing after invocation for the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America's flag, as well as our Texas flag. And the court welcomes and recognizes Reverend Adam Carrington.
Good morning. Let us pray. Most gracious Father, thank you for your grace, your mercy, and your never-ending unconditional love. Thank you for this day and this fantastic opportunity to call on your most holy and righteous name. Dear Lord, with so much strife and turmoil around the world, you continue to demonstrate your love to us each and every day. And for that, God, we are most thankful. Dear God, if I may ask this morning, would you stop by and bring peace to the crisis in Ukraine, especially to those families who are suffering from unwanted and unmerited military invasion? I pray, dear Lord, that your will be done, and somehow, God, you will get glory out of that situation. Now, dear God, stop by here today. Bless Judge Canales, Commissioners Hernandez, Gonzalez, Merez, and Chesney. Remove the stress of making decisions on behalf of Nueces County and replace it with wisdom and a peace that surpasses all understanding. Bless them today to work in harmony, even when making the tough, controversial decisions. Dear God, give them all they need to address the issues and concerns set before them today. And then, God, when it's time to end the work of this day, allow them to leave knowing they've made the best decisions. One last request, Lord, allow them to return to their homes, leaving the work of the day here at work, so they can enjoy the love and comfort of their families. I ask this prayer in your Son, Jesus' name, and all those who believe said amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. It's Wednesday, March the 2nd, and we are here at 901 North Leopard, Nueces County Courthouse, Nueces County Commissioner's Courtroom on the 3rd floor. For the clerk, I think we probably started maybe 3 or 4 minutes back. I'm going to call it 8:35 a.m. And I do certify for you as the presiding officer, all commissioners are here in person, and therefore a quorum has been established. I'd ask you to give your attention to our risk manager, Timothy Everest, who will provide a safety briefing, and please give him your attention.
Hey, good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. We're meeting today here on the 3rd floor of the Nueces County Courthouse, located at 901 Leopard Street. The restrooms are located on the right-hand side of the 3rd floor atrium as you exit the courtroom past the Human Resources Office. Please note there's a fire extinguisher located at the rear of the courtroom. There are also 5 additional fire extinguishers throughout the 3rd floor atrium area. In the event of a cardiac emergency, an AED is located on the atrium wall next to the Human Resources Office. Participants, in the event of an emergency, participants responsible for dialing 911 will be conning. In the event of evacuation, the egress route will be down the atrium stairs, exiting the LaPont Street entrance, and assembling in the parking lot across the street for safety purposes. Should there be a need to shelter in place, court attendees will remain in the courtroom. Depending upon the severity of the incident, the courtroom's double doors will be secured and remain secured until further instructions from the Nueces County Sheriff's Office or other law enforcement agencies. Shared safety topics for today are March's National Ladder Safety Month. Only poisoning account for more preventable injury deaths in the United States. In 2019, 3,443 people died in falls at home and at work, with over 8 million being treated in emergency rooms for fall-related injuries in 2019. Please keep in mind, falls are 100% preventable. That concludes my safety brief.
All right, thank you, Timothy. At this time, I'm going to ask Belinda to bring up the public comment, and I'll prepare everybody online. Is there anybody online that would wish to make public comment? And if you do, please use there's a virtual icon of a hand that you can utilize. Okay. With that, I've got two people that have signed up, and I note that they're both on for an agenda item, but I'll call your name, and if you'll just confirm that that's correct, if you wish to speak at that time of the agenda item, and that's Marshall Davidson and Mr. Eric Birch.
Judge, if it would, please, the court,
Sign
I'd
you.
like to address the court now instead of later.
Absolutely.
Because I have to leave.
Absolutely, sir. You absolutely may. And also, I've got you down.
Thank you for y'all's time this morning.
Yes, sir.
So my name is Marshall Davidson. I'm the Executive Vice President and co-owner of J.M. Davidson Incorporated. We're a marine and industrial construction company based here in the Coastal Bend. We were one of the bidders on the Bob Hall Pier demolition project, and I would like to address the court briefly about their decision on who to award that project to. So, Bob Hall Pier, as we know, was built in the 1950s as a wooden structure. It was knocked down by Hurricane Carla. It was rebuilt in 1982 into the structure that we see out there today, a strong concrete structure. J.M. Davidson was incorporated in the city of Corpus Christi in 1982. Coincidence? Probably. But nevertheless important. It's important because that illustrates that J.M. Davidson has been a business in the city of Corpus Christi for 40 years, contributing to the local economy, contributing to local charities, bolstering our businesses, bolstering all of the training programs, and employing so many people in the Coastal Bend over those 40 years. We've had probably thousands, if not tens of thousands of employees that have worked for J.M. Davidson in the Coastal Bend since that time. And if I have anything to say about it, it will continue to do so. So there's a few things that I wanted to point out that I wanted to make sure that the commissioners took into consideration when making their decision. First of all, there was significant debate about using local businesses. I, for one, think that it's very important to use local businesses. Local businesses support local charities. Local businesses employ people locally. They're your voters. They're people that contribute to the local economy. Local businesses support training programs such as the Craft Training Center, such as Del Mar College. And it is very difficult to run a business when you don't have support from the local government authorities or local organizations. So the marine construction business is very important to Corpus Christi. Most of our competitors are from Houston or New Orleans. It took many, many years and millions of dollars to buy the barges, the dredge equipment, the cranes, and the tugboats necessary to even be able to compete to do this job. If you don't have support from the local governments and the local organizations, we would never have been able to do that. And for that matter, the price that the county or that the city of Corpus Christi would be paying as a result with not having a local vendor that can even perform this job would be probably millions in dollars of excess. And that's something that I think everybody should consider, of how capital intensive the marine construction business is and how important it is to support that, because that makes this area better. It brings the type of people that know how to do that work to Corpus Christi instead of other places on the Gulf Coast. A couple other things, or three other things. These are three things that were not considered during the discussion about the award of Bob Hall Pier. One, no one asked J.M. Davidson about what hub zone businesses they would utilize in performing this work. I can guarantee you that the first thing that J.M. Davidson did upon receiving a contract from the county was call a local veteran and minority-owned engineering consultant to work with us to determine what the work plan would be in demolishing the pier. Did the competitor do that? I doubt it. The second thing we did was hire another minority-owned business to help us fight for this contract. We also immediately called local owners of marine equipment in order to help bolster our assets to do the job. Did the company from Houston do that? I doubt it. These are just a few things, you know, some other things to consider that were not considered during the debate. Additionally, there's an opportunity to build an offshore reef from the concrete rubble that is recovered from Bob Hall Pier. The contract does not mandate that we take that rubble offshore. It leaves it up to the contractor to decide what to do with it. You can either bring it back onshore and dispose of it, crush it, turn it into a road, or you can take it offshore and build a reef. I can tell you it's more expensive to take it offshore, but I can tell you that our plan included taking it offshore and building a reef. But that's not something that's asked in the bid documents. It's not something that's discussed. And that's something that needs to be considered when evaluating whether or not this is good for the area or not. And it wasn't. Finally, the schedule. I think this is a very important item. The schedule wasn't considered when awarding this job. If you go back and look in the news reports from the past 3 weeks, you can find Brandon Bicknell, the president of Russell Construction, identifying that he would employ 40 to 50 employees, 4 to 5 months to do the project. 4 to 5 months is about 150 days. The schedule requirements on this job set by the county are 100 days. So he's already indicating that they're not going to be able to finish the job in the allotted amount of time. Our schedule is going to be 90 days. That's how long it takes to demolish that pier. So right off the bat, you know that our schedule is better than the other bidder. That wasn't discussed during debate when discussing the award of the contract. So whether or not they're using local businesses, whether or not they're using hub zone businesses, what their plans are in building an offshore reef, and what their schedule is, were all things that were not discussed and are very important to awarding a contract. Our price was negligible. So with that, I encourage you all to award the job to J.M. Davidson, and I thank you for your time and all your effort. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Would you like to speak now, Judge Canales, or wait?
It's up to you. You have that,
Speak right before the event.
that'd be fine. Brent Chesney,
Thank you.
Commissioner Brent Chesney.
Judge, I just want to take a quick point of personal privilege to congratulate Commissioner Gonzalez on an outstanding victory last night and welcome him back for 4 more years. I'm very happy that went well for you. I appreciate your public service. I know how hard you worked, how hard your family worked. I know what a sacrifice it is, as we all do who have run campaigns, to be out there on the street, putting your name on the ballot as many times as you have. I want to congratulate you, wish you the best, and glad you'll be back for 4 more years.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you. I also signed up for public comment, and I'll refer here to a quick note because today is National Read Across America Day. And actually, I think all across our community, we will have celebrity readers and parents and community organizers, I'm certain ministers and reverends reading to our children all across our schools. And today's a day we celebrate our teachers. The most important, I suppose, lesson that we embark upon when we take our children to school is learning the alphabet and then giving them the gift of reading, which once you know how to do is never ever taken from you and always can liberate you and enlighten you. And so today is a wonderful day. I'm sorry, commissioners, that we're here and not in the public schools, but hopefully you'll take the time Thursday and Friday to pick up some books and head to your local school, wherever it is in your neighborhood, in your neck of the woods, and enjoy that moment. And anyway, the other thing that I wanted to echo is just, it was a wonderful day yesterday, as was already remarked by Commissioner Chesney. It was Election Day, complete and perfect symbol of our flag and our freedoms that we enjoy in this country. And as I went all over Nueces County, it's very evident to me that we have a very patriotic community and one that is committed to exercising this precious right we call the vote. So again, congratulations to all of those who are victorious, but please remember, I know the clerk's going to remind us, but we have runoffs. There's going to be some runoffs for both statewide elections and some congressional races as well. And so I think, and local races. So we really need to make certain that we stay very attuned to those dates and the voting locations. And I bet within maybe next court, we'll be bringing back information with regards to our runoff. With that, I'll ask if Deputy has anybody else. I see no other further comment.
I'd like to put my name down, Judge.
Of course, of course. Any further comment just from the sheet, and I'll call on Commissioner Gonzalez. How about online, Connie? We're all good. Commissioner, I'll write it down for you.
Thank you. Well, Judge, I would take that as a congratulations from you, so I really appreciate it.
It is, sir.
And, but I also want to say that the election went very well. I want to congratulate Kara and her staff that were out there working and doing a good job. Didn't hear any complaints, you know, and maybe one or two little ones, but we're going to work those out. But I just want to say the attitude of most of you people out there, Kara, was great, you know, and people really appreciate it. I think you guys did an excellent job. And you know, with that in mind, I think that the voting centers that we decided to have maybe 4 or 5 years ago is really working. And I just want to thank you and your staff for a great job that y'all did. Congratulations.
Thank you. Can I sign up?
Would you like to sign up
Yes.
too?
Thank you.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So congratulations, Commissioner. Happy to see you back. Also, my staff, we had a great election, another just seamless election. And you know what? Because I have a great staff, a hardworking staff, and all the election clerks and judges that work together, you know, and the voters. So thank you so much to my staff. I love them. They work hard, and I know it's stressful, but thank y'all. You know what? Nueces County is very lucky to have them because they care, and they want to make sure that everyone that votes, they have an opportunity to vote and that their vote counts. And that's so important. So we had our results out. Early voting was 7:03, and all the boxes were in, and final results, unofficial results, were in before the 10 o'clock news. So I don't think we can better than that. It was seamless. You know what? And our elections in Nueces County are fair. And you know what? Your vote's going to count. So just thank you, and thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sands. Y'all did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so with that, we'll move on.
Judge, I was just going to say,
Go ahead.
I think she broke a record. I think the early voting was up by 7:03, which was, I don't even know how you do that, so congratulations on a great election. So,
You have a great staff.
yeah, that is.
That's great.
Amazing.
Congratulations to the staff. At this time, though, we have a full house, and so I'm going to move on to our following agenda item, which is a very important one. And it is the recognition of Vietnam Veterans Day, and that you will find on our items F1. And I ask Belinda to please introduce this recognition.
Good morning, Judge and
Good morning.
Commissioners. I do want to let y'all know that JJ de la Cerda, our Veteran Service Officers here for this resolution, as well numerous representatives, Vietnam veterans that are here. Whereas in honor of veterans in Nueces County and Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 910, and all Vietnam-era veterans of Texas, and whereas we remember those who defended this great land of ours, those who lived through the horror of war, those who came home sick or injured, and those who took their last breath in battle. And whereas our Vietnam and Vietnam-era veterans of Texas surely gave up the ease and security of civilian life, leaving farm and factory, home and classroom, to defend the United States freedoms we enjoy every day. And whereas on this Vietnam Veterans Day in Texas, we remember and honor all veterans, and we especially recognize those giving limb and injury as a sacrifice for our freedom. Whereas Nueces County Veteran Services will be commemorating Vietnam Veterans Memorial Day on March 12, 2022 at 10 a.m. at Sherrill Veterans Memorial Park. Now therefore be it resolved by the Commissioners Court of Nueces County that Tuesday, March 29, 2022 is hereby declared Vietnam Veterans Day in all of Nueces County, and the court hereby recognizes those that defended this great land of ours and protected our freedom. and further urges all citizens of Nueces County to join the court in honoring the Vietnam and Vietnam-era veterans of Texas.
Thank you. JJ, would you like to
So moved, Judge.
make?
Second.
I've got a motion and a second, and recognize JJ de la Cerda, our Veteran Service Officer. And I'd ask that you help recognize all the great veterans in the room here.
Morning, Judge and Commissioners. I just want to say that as an Iraq veteran, not only the Veteran Service Officer of Nueces County, but as an Iraq veteran, I thank Vietnam veterans every day. Main reason is they weren't welcome home like we were. They were spat on, and I take that very personally. And so not only did they change that for themselves, but they changed that for all future generations, including mine. So for me, Vietnam Veterans Day is every single day. I admire them. I'm inspired by them every single day. And so I personally want to thank each and every one of you. Thank you, Vietnam veterans. And of course, we have Mr. Hector Rubio here. You want to come on? You want to come on up? Mr. TC's here. Sir. Vietnam veterans. Come on over, sir.
Mr. Duran,
Come over, sir.
Amador?
Mr. Perez, are you?
Yes.
Did you want them up front? Judge and
Veterans,
Commissioners?
yes, I would like that. I don't know if there's any more comments. I just wanted to have you remind the audience and our listeners at home, we have a very special ceremony in Sherrill Park, if you would remind everybody. And then, of course, we have an incredible ceremony coming on March 29th here at the Fallen Heroes Memorial. It's something we do every year, and we're going to invite all to commemorate that important ceremony as well. Welcome.
Judge, on behalf of those veterans, Vietnam veterans that are not able to be here today, I convey to you personally and the commissioners that are with you that as a team, as a member of the armed forces, we thank you for taking time this day to give us that recognition, that thank you, and that welcome back. You know, each and every one of us, you can see by the balding, the white hair, the no hair. You can ask any one of these veterans today. I haven't even looked around to see who's here. Most of them are my comrades or my friends who worked in this community. But I'll tell you what, Judge, we would do it all over again.
I know you would.
We would do it all over again, whether or not we got to thank you. You mentioned that we were spat on when we got off the plane. But you know something? To us, it was like taking a shot, and it didn't kill us. And we're here for this country. We do it all over again. But thank you so much that Nueces County has always stood behind their veterans. You personally, Judge, were there with us yesterday at the Veterans Roundtable. Not only your rhetoric, but your actions show that you mean what you say. The rest of the commissioners have always been with us. They're out there with us at the different campsites. I know they'll be with us at Sherrill. I had to come up here and give you my personal thanks for every veteran, not only the ones that are here, but every single Vietnam veteran in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said. Thank you.
I just want to say one thing. We salute you guys.
Thank you.
As a brother and a sister, and as a veteran, we salute you. Thank you for everything.
Carry on.
Thank you. We would be honored to have a photo with you all. I have the resolution that's signed. I think let me see, Commissioner Gonzalez, it's right here in front of you. If you would sign and Commissioner Chesney would sign, and then we could gather up front if you like. While we're waiting for those signatures, I just want to remark that what Mr. De La Cerda said is so true. You've paved the way for so many. Just this morning, our very own Burn Pits 360 is being discussed at the national level, and that is really because of the Vietnam veterans that fought to make sure that Agent Orange would be a disease that would be covered under your VA healthcare benefits. And now the same thing is occurring for our very own Nueces County endeavor. You all did that.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, we'll be right there. Or we can stand, let's see, who will take our photo? Belinda, I appreciate it. Did you have did you sign it? You gave it to Kara, she's attesting to it? Okay, excuse me.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being there. Absolutely, always. Thank you. Appreciate you, sir.
We'll get it for you.
Okay, I'll just take one picture right now. Yeah. If you wanted, it'd be so nice, yes. Huh? Oh, yes.
Yeah, just that done without the first.
Yes, sir, brother. That's it.
Yeah, that's for the photo. Give it to them.
Of course.
If you don't mind, Judge?
Not at all. All right.
With all due respect, I want to show my.
With great respect and love and admiration on behalf of the residents of Nueces County, I'm going to present this to you, and we have more coming. But please don't think of it as a piece of paper. Please think of it as our eternal, true love for the sacrifice that you've given to us. My honor to join you. I can take off my heels if I'm real little. I'm real little.
You take a big deal to put on my hat, okay? Hang on for 1 second. JJ, come on up here.
Absolutely.
JJ, you're part of this team.
Thank you for your service, JJ.
Thank you for what you do for our veterans.
Thank you. Thank you both so much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. The Waterbury.
I love it.
You made a good student.
John, tell me everything.
Back when he was that baby. Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
Good seeing you, Jimmy. Always good to see you. Good. How about you? Surviving, huh? Take care. Hopefully we'll see you round and about.
We'll spread that word. Thank you.
He's the best.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Again, at Sherrill Park, I believe it's March 12th at 10 a.m. We'll see you there. And then again here at our Fallen Heroes Memorial on March 29th. And so now we'll move, after that moving moment, to item F2, which is in recognition. Oh, we did not vote. We should, that's correct. I did have a motion by Chesney and a second by Gonzalez, and all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. And number 2 is the recognition of March being the National Social Worker Month. And so for this year, we have a special resolution.
Judge, what time was the Sherrill Park? 10 o'clock?
It's always at 10.
10
right.
a.m., yes. And we have Rebecca Rock here, our Social Services Director, as well as the numerous social workers for this resolution. Whereas the social work profession for decades has been dedicated to improving human well-being and enhancing the basic needs of all people, especially the most vulnerable among us, particularly during the global pandemic.
Right.
Whereas this year's Social Work Month theme, "The Time is Right for Social Work," embodies how social workers rose to meet the most pressing challenges of our lifetimes, the COVID-19 pandemic, even as our nation continues to grapple with other crises such as economic inequality. Whereas social workers are the largest group of mental health care providers in the United States and work daily to help people, whether in person or remotely, overcome substance use disorders and mental illnesses such as depression and anxiety. Whereas social workers have always helped people overcome issues such as death and grief, and help people and communities recover from increasing natural disasters such as hurricanes. Whereas social workers have helped this nation live up to its values by successfully advocating for equal rights for all. Whereas the social work profession is one of the fastest growing careers in the United States, with more than 715,000 social workers today and nearly 800,000 professionals expected to be employed as social workers by 2028. Whereas social workers have continued to push for changes that have made our society a better place to live, including a livable wage, improved workplace safety, and social safety net programs that help ameliorate poverty, hunger, and homelessness. Whereas social workers possess the necessary expertise to assist our nation in some of its most demanding concerns, including their health and well-being, not only during the pandemic, but at all times, ensuring equal rights, improved health care, and mental health care for all. Whereas social workers work in all facets of our society to meet people, no matter their circumstance, and empower them to live to their fullest potential. Now therefore be it resolved that the Commissioners Court of Nueces County, in recognition of the numerous contributions made by America's social workers, proclaims the month of March 2022 as National Social Work Month and call upon the citizens of Nueces County to join in the celebration in support of the social work profession.
Thank you. Rebecca,
So moved.
I've got a motion, a second. We'll recognize Rebecca Rock with our Social Services Department. And she has her staff here with her. Welcome.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners, good morning.
morning.
Thank you for the recognition of our profession today and your continued support of the services that we offer. Right now, I'd like to recognize some of our licensed social workers. I have with me today Elaine Mitsui, she's the social work supervisor. Esther Balboa, a social worker too, here in our Corpus Christi office, and Lydia Rodriguez, a social worker, and she handles a lot of our burials and cremation cases. As I was reading over the proclamation, that it says a lot, but the thing that stuck out to me most, it says social workers work daily to help people by enhancing their basic needs, and that's exactly what our office does. So I'd just like to thank them. They're a great team, and thank you for recognizing us.
Thank you so much. I don't think that as well-written as that resolution was, really does it justice to the work that you have performed, most particularly all through this pandemic, when you went into people's homes, when you helped provide them food when they could not go out, providing all of the basic necessities of life, clothing, shelter, the ISOVAC unit. I could go on and on. In fact, I'm fairly convinced that we really do need to memorialize all the work that did go on, because sometime people are forgetting now. So can you imagine what will happen 20 years from now if we do not remember right now the work that your office undertook under extraordinary circumstances? So I think that it's your month all year long for those people who are the most vulnerable. We have an incredibly high social vulnerability index. I'm extremely worried about our food insecurity countywide, and it manifests itself in the social services. So our eyes are wide open, and my ears are as well. So please, I'll remember you during budget season. Please let us know how our services can be enhanced to help more people.
Yes, ma'am, I've already started working on that.
Thank you. Are there any questions at all? Not questions, but comments?
Sure, Judge.
Yes, Commissioner Modis?
Rebecca, thank you to you and your team always for stepping up. And, you know, every semester since the fall of 2017, my first year here at Commissioners Court, I've had an MSW student in my office interning every semester. And this semester, I continue to do that. And so that's always been my passion, is to support our social workers, and both personally and professionally, have a lot of family and good friends who are social workers. And so the work that you do on behalf of our county and just our community says a lot about, I think, the people we are. We are very caring and giving community. And we have to continue to show that to the public. And we do that hopefully coming this summer and leading into the fall. Because words are fine, but action is even more. And so I think we need to do that. I agree, Judge. But thank you all for your work, your tireless work. I always look forward to March and I guess always being around social workers, but not being a part of them. I just get to kind of see it from a different perspective. But y'all do amazing work, so thank you for your service.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. It would be our honor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
To take a photo and present you with this resolution. Is it ready, Emma? Okay. Linda, may I impose upon you again? Maggie, either one can take
I was
photos.
thinking, he doesn't even have to show up to work for the next 5 years. There's a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done. But you know,
Oh, I'm sorry, no, that,
too late.
Thank you, ladies. We
thank you, lady, thank you for all your work, y'all do. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Appreciate you enlightening me.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is our general information reports, and I note that we have Mr. Louis Ray here from Emergency Management, your Emergency Management Coordinator. And this item really helps us focus on our disaster preparedness and response, and it includes a variety of matters, including ERAP, ARPA, COVID-19. And so I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Ray and ask that you give us a highlight reel of this general information report.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
All right, so I start off with with our forecast. So the forecast is dry with increasing warm conditions for the week. There's going to be fog all week long, so starting in the morning. Right now I don't know the exact time frame, but I'm getting that developed as we develop the forecast. Rain will return to our forecast sometime next week. So the KBDI, that's the index that we use to judge whether or not we need to issue a ban on burning outside. The KBDI average is about 424 for this week. We had a max of 547 over the week. The engagements for the EOC for the 30-day plus, we're still developing the Hurricane Conference, which has happened on May 2nd through the 6th at RMB. The 2022 Texas Emergency Management Conference will happen on May 31st through June 3rd. That's going to be in San Antonio. For this month, the 30-day outlook for the EOC. So we had a couple of team members go to the Union Pacific training. It's a rail car training for understanding if there's an emergency for anything out on the railhead, and then how to bring that knowledge back to the EOC and engage in, if that particular incident turns into an emergency, how to engage our forces to help. We're planning a full-scale exercise with the Red Cross. Right now, we're planning that to happen on the 26th of March. We're still talking that through as well. The EOC is starting to develop a communication exercise and communication training. It helps us to understand our interoperability as well as the communication equipment that we have on hand. We started that last week. We're going to start taking notes and updating our calendar so everyone will know what we're doing. And then we'll start to reach out across the spectrum of Nueces County and the region so that we can have more play into our interoperability. The biggest thing that we have going on for this month is our EM plan updates. All right, so we're changing the EM plan from the traditional annexes and appendices to what is more accepted with FEMA, which is Antietam now, which is the use of the emergency support functions. There are right now 15 emergency support functions that we're trying to develop. What we're ending up doing is taking part of those annexes and appendices and putting them in the right places for those emergency support functions. This is going to take a signature with the judge and the mayors as well as the council to have a look at. So we're planning to try to have that done by the end of March. Also with that, there are certain grants that come with having an updated EM plan. So we reached out to Tatum to figure out what day they need our EM plan completed. As of right now, we still have some time to get it updated, but it's traditionally at the end of March we're supposed to have it done. So community engagements, Nueces Regional Flood Planning Group will have 3 meetings over the next month, on the 8th in Cotulla, the 21st in Leakley, and the 22nd in Sinton. And yesterday we attended the Coastal Bend COG Texas State, Friday we attended the Coastal Bend COG Texas Statewide Interoperability Coordinator Conference. And yesterday we attended the LEPC General Meeting. COVID, so our COVID infection rate is about 10%. Right now, we had planned on doing COVID testing every Thursday, and we're talking to the city now to see how that's going to go forward. Some of the issues and concerns that we have. So last week we had a fire that started with a outdoor burning. And I don't know the exact acreage that was burned, but we had 3 fire departments respond to that, along with the Nueces County Fire Marshal. I would like to remind everyone that a burn ban is in place for 30 days. The person that started that fire was issued a citation by the Nueces County Fire Marshal. We're starting to get into a season where riptides are happening, so we need people to be vigilant of that. And the EOC development is the last thing I want to talk about. So there's going to be some changes going on in the EOC as we try to develop our SOPs and plans to make it a more functional area. We talk extensively about changing some of the furniture around, so when you guys come up there, it may be some changes happening up there as well. Other than that, Judge, Commissioners, any questions?
Any questions anybody has?
That's a great report, and that's an even greater jacket you have on. That's really sharp.
Hey, sir, I give all credit to my wife. She has terrific taste.
I'm with you, man.
She married me, so that's how we're gonna go with it.
Go with it.
Hey,
Go with it.
Let's send her that video, right? We'll
Yeah.
send, that's on, we got. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Anybody else have any questions or concerns? I think maybe, Louis, maybe for next time, I know that there was some discussion last time about ERAP 2. And I know that there's going to be some good questions. Social services just left, and so that might be an opportunity. That's what clicked in my mind. Maybe on next agenda, we'll brief the court a little more about how we're going to manage administratively that ERAP 2, that emergency rental assistance
Yes, ma'am.
programming. And while our ERAP 1 funds have already expired, we have ERAP 2. And what's interesting is that it really does, even if rent is not an issue for folks, the utilities can be paid from ERAP 2. And so I just think that that's where I think we're headed for next time. And then I also wrote down in my notes that I want the court to have a real awareness as we come into hurricane season about our temporary generators and the need to keep them on standby until such time as our permanent generators are installed. And so those are the two things that just sort of a window into next week or the week after, whichever, really the 16th, I suppose. And that's all I have, but thank you, and I'll echo the good jacket too, so.
Excuse me, Louis, I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner.
You did say that the fire marshal issued a citation?
Yes.
You did? All right, thank you.
Thanks again. So commissioners, we'll move on. There's no action, it's just a report. But we'll move on to the consent agenda. And there's items A through I, and I'd like to pull I, which is the Bob Hall Pier demolition. Is there any other items, commissioners, that need to be pulled? And if not, I'd like to hear a motion for such approval.
Item G,
Item G is in girl?
yes.
Okay, got it? Commissioners, nothing else? How about a motion for all items A through F and then H? A through F and then H. Motion to approve this consent agenda.
So moved.
Second,
Motion and a second. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll just take it in order. Item G is the South Texas Water Authority Board of Directors. This is the application procedure only. Commissioner?
yes, Judge, I'm going to be abstaining
Okay,
on
thank
that
you.
item.
If
so-
the record could please reflect that. Is the application procedure the same as it's always been, as long as we're on it? No difference?
No difference, Judge.
Okay.
Judge, move passage, if that's all. Commissioner.
That's it. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
And one abstention. All right, and then item I is the authorization of the award for CSP number 3187-21. It's the Bob Hall Pier demolition to Russell Marine. And authorized execution. At this time, I'll recognize Mr. Birch.
Thank you and good morning. My name is Eric Birch. I'm an attorney with Birch, Beckler, and Mormon. I think I may be the minority firm that Russell referred to earlier. We're actually minority and women-owned firm. I spoke last week. I'm representing J.M. Davidson regarding this item. When this RFP was issued by the county, it identified 5 criteria that it would review. One of those 5 was cost, and it awarded a certain number of points for the low cost. Well, Russell Marine had the low cost bid. It was awarded full value as the low bidder. Then the staff went ahead and reviewed the rest of the criteria. Now, during your January 26th meeting, the staff indicated that all of the bidders were tied. So what that says is that J.M. Davidson obviously exceeded Russell Marine on some or all of the other 4 criteria. The important thing about all of this is the cost was considered when that selection committee reviewed the bids. So cost at this point is really off the table. It's already been included. But then the staff came back of the selection committee and said, we decided to use cost as the factor in deciding to recommend Russell Marine. Well, that's effectively double counting cost.
Can I got to interrupt here. So I've
Yes.
heard this twice, and
Yes, sir.
So I don't know if the scoring sheets are available to be released or what the situation is, because with all due respect, I've heard this twice from you now, but that's not correct. The scoring sheet did not reflect what you indicated, and that's why we're in this spot we're in. So maybe you need to talk to Mr. Robinson, or I don't know what's supposed to be out there, but the matrix did not score your client the best one. That's part of where we are on this and why we are where we are. So I don't want that to keep being said and someone not say that. And I know you probably said that because you think that's the case, and I'm not trying to, but you said it at the last meeting, and now you're saying it again. And Mr. Robinson's shaking his head, and I'm shaking my head because I didn't say anything the last time, but that's not correct. The scoring sheet did not have your client, it did not have it above all else. So somebody needs to get with these people and clear up this, because they are under an impression that is different than we are under impression. And as you know, I made that original motion because I wanted to do that, but then, you know, based on legal advice that I'm not gonna go into there, but you've got some bad information that I think we need to let this man have the information that so he can show his client. They weren't scored the best, they were scored the lowest. And that was part of it. So it wasn't just cost, and I want you to understand that. I want the public to understand that, because this stinks that we're in this position, but so get him the information he needs so he doesn't keep thinking that.
And let's, before he does that,
It's not fair to him to keep coming up here and thinking something.
But before we do that, I'd like to gain control here, if you don't mind. I'd like to let him finish. I think that's a fair interjection.
But I think it might change his entire speech, because his entire speech
but let me-
last time was based
let
on
me
this.
let him
and
finish.
What I was just gonna suggest, Judge, maybe he could go talk to Mr. Robinson and we could bring him back in to finish, because once he sees what he sees, it may change his entire speech.
Yeah, I'll defer to our guest, and you can finish. And I also do recommend, of course, you're welcome to look at the information. And then, would you like to finish?
Well, first, I'd like to say, Commissioner Chesney, you're absolutely right. We have tried to get the information. So what we're doing is we're trying to fill in the gaps, because we did hear several times that the bids all scored equally. It was said multiple ways. I went back and listened to the video again, and it says the bids were all equal.
And you need
And
to
so
have,
there's something in there that's not, so we would love to see that information. I guess in answer to your question, Judge Canales, is that if I have time to look at the information and then respond again,
Of
that would
course,
be
we can
very good.
do that. And also, okay.
Speak right now.
Okay, well, hold
Just to-
on,
just to
hold on.
clarify one-
I know,
one
but just
point.
hold on. I'm gonna let him do that. He'll have a chance to visit with you, and then he can come back. And Michael, go ahead.
Okay, I'm just going to clarify one thing for the record.
Okay.
And that is, while we are in the process of evaluating this opportunity, I cannot release those scoring sheets out until we've completed and awarded and executed a contract.
Okay. So in that case, thank you for the clarification. I have a question for you. Mr. Davidson said something that was new to me. And the new to me, I need you to confirm. And that is that he represented earlier in comment that your bid represented removal of the debris to the desired reef or the desired location that we had offshore. Can you confirm that your bid represented the movement of debris to our off-site reef?
I cannot confirm that simply
Okay.
because I've not read through J.M. Davidson's complete bid, so I don't know that. I do know that Marshall Davidson has said to me repeatedly that that is part of their proposal. I'm just saying I haven't read it, so I don't
Understood.
know.
That's fair. I just want you to know, I heard that from him this morning, and that's very different. So I think what we'll do now is, Commissioners, I'd like to bring this into executive session
I
at
do
this
have a
time.
question, because I think Michael, I need to ask you, I don't understand once it gets, those scoring sheets get handed out to us to look at, and we deliberate, and we come up with a way to do what we do, why in the world that would not be public knowledge by law, not by policy, but by law?
Yeah, this is not a policy statement. We're following the law.
Okay, I need to see that, because that makes it really hard to explain to the public and people who don't understand why they are where they are. There's no logic to me in this, and so
Yeah,
I need to really look at that too before we go into executive session.
And I would advise that you speak with county attorney in executive session, and they can explain exactly why that is.
I'm happy to do that, but I think it's important to maybe, I don't think that's attorney-client privilege to where you could not explain the law on that so that people can understand why we can't reveal that.
And at this time, I can just cite to the section, and then I'll explain that in more detail in executive session as to what it means. But we're under 2269 155D, and it refers to when the points or when the system gets released. It's very specific, so, and that's something we can discuss more in executive session.
Okay.
So that's fair. So if you'll make sure that you provide that to their attorney, because if you're telling me that I'm hamstrung on what I can release, that's fine, but I'm not going to be hamstrung and saying that the scores were different, and they were, I mean, that, I'm sorry if that gets me in trouble, because that's not fair to them, because they're trying to get information, and to wait till a contract's signed to get information is a little rough, but I don't have it anymore, so I can't give it to you.
And how about if we do this, then? I think that's best that we move table, item, we postpone, as they say, the action on item I and bring that into executive session
Yes,
for
ma'am.
further
Thank you.
discussion. Okay, that's where we are, Mr. Birch, and we're gonna once again ask for your patience. We're gonna take that item into executive session.
Okay, and then when you come out of executive session, well, since I'm not going to be able to see the evaluation documents today, can I follow up with a few extra
Absolutely.
additional comments? Well, I guess the key thing here right now is where we stand as far as what's on the record. Because what we've heard is the only debate on this item has been on January 26th. And that information said all the bids were equal. I understand there may be some difference when we actually see those documents, but that's what's on the record, is that all the scores, the bidders were equal. And then the decision was made to award it to the low bidder. And that is not the standard that must be followed for a Subchapter D award. Subchapter C, you evaluate all the bidders, and you, by law, in that January 26th discussion, there were some questions about, can we even award it to anyone but the low bidder? And the question, I think, was legally, is there a problem in not giving it to the low bidder? If it was a Subchapter C proposal, that would be a problem. You're supposed to give it to the low bidder. But in Subchapter D, cost has already been included in the mix. So what's on the record is that we're going to give it to the bidder that had the low cost, which is not the standard. The standard is best value for the county, and there's nothing on the record saying that the best value is to give it to Russell Marine. It's only saying give it to them because they have the low cost. The other thing is there were supposedly a written protest filed by Russell Marine, and again, we've attempted to find that. We can't find that anything like that was filed, so that's another document that we would like to have a copy of if it was actually filed. The other thing is you'll notice that when Russell Marine made its comments on February 2nd, most of those comments were about the local impact. I think they recognize, he even said that we understand this is not a competitive bid standard, this is the Subchapter D standard, but the discussion tended to offset your discussion about the benefit to the local area. Now, you heard Marshall Davidson speak earlier today, and, it's pretty overwhelming, the impact that Russell Marine has on the local economy. And so when you consider this, I just ask that you take into account that standard that's in the statute is the best value as you consider this award today, and I think you'll find the best value is J.M. Davidson. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to move on at this time, and I see her here. We have a presentation in a regular agenda item. It's from Melissa Sweeting. She's the Executive Director of the Coastal Bend Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse, and this is having to do with really the activities of last year, but more importantly, Commissioners, we need to authorize, there's an action item to authorize her 21-22 contract.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We actually have packets put together for you guys. Would it be okay if Kaylin approached?
Be happy to,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. As you said, my name is Melissa Sweeting. I'm the Executive Director for the Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse. I'm also a social worker, so that was kind of cool to be here for that. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of background on our agency, just so you guys could kind of see what we all do. Although it's drug and alcohol abuse is in our name, it's really not everything that we do. We have been doing this for over 60 years. We are the longest standing nonprofit drug and alcohol treatment facility in our area. We currently provide prevention, intervention, treatment, and aftercare services. Our prevention team offers education for all grade levels. We go into schools. We teach kids about not only drug prevention, but we also teach life skills. We talk about peer pressure, self-esteem building, problem solving, decision making, bullying prevention, and so much more. We've been doing that for over 30 years. Under our intervention umbrella, we have two amazing programs. We have Project Link. Project Link works with moms and dads. We work with a lot of CPS parents who may need some assistance in just being better moms and dads. We are able, through that program, we provide a lot of training. We have classes such as toddler parenting, infant parenting, anger management. We even have a class where we teach parents how to play with their children. You'd be surprised how many parents really don't know just how to sit on the floor and just be present for their children. So we're able to do that. We're able to provide case management, client assistance. We provide tons of diapers. I can't even tell you the number of cases of diapers I order on a weekly basis. We provide formula, pack and plays. We can provide client assistance, emergency aid. We can pay a utility bill. We can help with rent. We can go to court with them. We can just be there for them. Through COVID, we've had to change our techniques a little bit, but we continue to offer services in person now. We offer afternoon classes, evening classes, weekend classes, Zoom classes, face-to-face. We go to homes. We do a lot of home visits. We do so much for parents. And then the other program under that umbrella, under our intervention umbrella, is our newest program, and that is our Operation Link program. And we were awarded that program last year. The program is designed to help service members, veterans, and their families. The main objective of that program is to reduce child abuse, neglect, drug abuse, and misuse in our veteran families. I'm most excited about that program because we've wanted to work with veterans for so long, and so being awarded that program has been really great. We do, like with Project Link, we do offer classes. These classes are geared towards military families. We offer classes in finance, benefits, and learning how to navigate a military life. We also offer financial assistance for that program as well, so we can help with utility bills, rental assistance, groceries, emergency aid, anything to really remove those barriers. Because I'm a storyteller, I have a quick story about this program. Recently, I saw a post on Facebook about a mom reaching out for help because she had lost her fiance. He passed away, it's been a couple months now, but she had lost her job about 6 to 8 months ago due to having to travel back and forth to MD Anderson with him while he fought his battle. And when he lost his battle, she realized that they had a child together, and although they weren't married, they still had this young child. And his family was very against her receiving any of his benefits because they weren't married. So she reached out on Facebook not knowing really where to turn because she had, this child that she felt like deserved some kind of benefit. So he was military. And so I reached out to her on Facebook. She called our agency, which I was surprised within minutes of me sending her our phone number. And we connected her with the case manager who went to meet with her immediately at her home and helped her. Then she connected with a coworker who is a veteran who understood how to work the road to benefits. And so they were able to help her get benefits for her child. While they were doing that, we helped her. We helped build her resume because she hadn't worked in a while. We bought her interview clothes so she felt really good about herself when she was going to these interviews. We paid some utility bills for her. We provided her child with some fun stuff. And I'm happy to say that mom did get a job, and she is on the path to receiving benefits for her little boy. So it's stories like that make my heart happy. So I just wanted to share that with you guys because, like I said, I like to tell stories. Most of our, if not, I would say most of our employees in that department are all veterans or military spouses. So they're able to really help the clients where they're at because they understand the system and how to navigate through it. Our treatment program has been around for over 60 years, and that program continues to provide much-needed services to our community. The opioid addiction, while it's getting a little bit better, is still not going away anytime soon. And we work with children with clients 13 and up. The youngest child we've ever worked with was 12 going on 13 with a heroin addiction. I have a 13-year-old nephew, and I can't possibly imagine having a child that young knowing how to use a needle to get relief and to get that high. But we did. We worked with him. His grandma brought him to us. He came from San Antonio after CPS removed him for heroin use. And so he's our youngest client, but this has been about 2 years, and he continues to be sober. He is part of our recovery program for youth. So we're able to kind of follow him and keep him on the right track. When a client comes in and starts in treatment, they're immediately matched with a recovery coach. Our recovery coaches are all in active recovery themselves. That used to be part of our grant was a requirement that they be in recovery. It's no longer a requirement, but it is an agency requirement. So we do require all of our recovery coaches to be in recovery so they understand what it's like. We do have 2 recovery programs. We have one for kids and we have one for adults. They are completely up and moving now. We still offer virtual groups and sessions for those that are just not ready to come out. We have a drop-in center, so the clients can come and drop in anytime. We always have hot coffee. We have video games, and we have ping pong and pool tables and all kinds of stuff to kind of help them. We also have couches where they can just sit and relax and try not to worry about what they're going through. Recovery is so important to helping people stay sober. But I think the main barrier that we as an agency remove for our community is that all of our services are free. We have grants that fund everything that we do. We never turn anyone away, which is something that we're very proud of. And y'all's support of our agency has been instrumental in us staying alive through COVID. COVID hit us very, very hard. We tried not to lose very many. We did lose. We had to lose a few, but we never shut our doors, not one day. Our counselors stayed there. We provided some services virtually. Some employees were able to work from home, but for the most part, we were there every day. We are essential to keeping people safe and to continue providing hope and healing. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that we did remain open. We never stopped for one day. But thank you guys so much. Your support has meant so much to us. And just calling Nueces County a partner of ours means a lot to us. So I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Judge, question?
Is,
Just a question, may I ask?
yes.
I don't remember, what do we currently give?
50,000.
And the
50,000.
contract is for the same amount.
Okay.
And we use that for our match funds.
And I appreciate that. I know how tough that the year has been for the council this year, and so, Judge, I just wanted to, on a one-time basis, I just wanted to add an additional $10,000 to that to help get them over that hump that I know they've had. So if you could make sure, I don't know if I need to do that in a motion, or I just need to do it out of my precinct funds, so.
I'll just add, we'll add it to the motion, that there'll be a budget transfer to, I mean, this contract already has 50,000, but we can do it as an outside,
Right.
we'll figure it out as a supplement. Here comes Teresa to tell you how to do it.
I think we raised it amount last December, right? We raised it a little bit more, but
Yes.
did you get that rate? Did you get
Yes.
Right, and I just wanted, I've been involved with the council and with Melissa, and I just know
Thank
how
you.
tough it's been, so I just want to do it as a one-time to help them.
Thank you.
Thank you
We'll
so
make,
much.
we'll make the appropriate documentation, Melissa,
Okay.
for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so,
And whatever I give them already, I'll match the rest of it, 10,000.
Thank you so much.
okay, so
I
you'll,
think the county already does it, right? The county gives 50,000 now.
correct.
out of the general fund.
Yes.
So I'm just
correct.
adding from my precinct funds that additional 10,000.
And so Commissioner Gonzalez,
And then
you would
whatever he
like
wants
to
to do.
add out of your precinct funds?
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow.
Teresa, can you make that
How
note?
much do you want to do?
All right, so
How much?
Melissa, you know, as they say, well done. It's,
Lisa, I've always worked with the council, and I think y'all do a great job. I'm going to your meetings, I sit there and y'all hear the stories, and I just want to tell you that y'all been doing this forever.
Yes.
And I just want to thank you and your staff.
Thank you so much. This means so much to
People
me.
that deal with those issues every single day, like the social workers, they really have to be special people.
Yes, I have an amazing team.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
So thank
and
you.
Melissa, are you cued into the SUS, the Texas SUS Symposium? I feel like,
We're actually both going.
okay, great. So I want to, as it gets closer on the 16th, we'll be making those announcements, but I'm just wanting to let the commissioners know, and when this statewide substance abuse symposium comes, that we're incorporating all our Nueces County partners to be a part of that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I
All
appreciate
right.
you guys so
Judge,
much.
Yes.
I want to contribute as well,
Okay,
10,000.
all right. Okay, so Melissa, you have an additional 10,000,
Wow.
and
An additional
Hey,
30,000.
we do it for downtown, we can do it for you.
yes, I
That's
just
right.
meant
Yeah,
on
right,
top of
Do it
that.
for you.
I can't thank you guys enough.
Commissioner Hernandez. Yes, Melissa, as they say, I still need to do something wonderful, which is take a motion to approve the contract. And I've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, a motion and a second. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And again, we'll work with you on the details to add these additional funds from these precincts that are available to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Teresa?
So it's $10,000?
For
Each.
Commissioner, 4, 1, and Gonzalez as well.
So that's
Two.
$30,000
One.
amended.
Can you check on mine, Teresa, and see if I have enough?
Okay.
If I do, then definitely I'll.
Melissa, sometimes precinct funds are available and sometimes they're not. Teresa helps keep all of the additional dollars that are available in the precinct funds. So let us get you the perfect number, and don't cry on us because we're gonna cry too.
That's
You know what?
$90,000.
Do I need to add that as an amendment, or do we need?
No, sir. We'll
No.
adjust the contract.
And we'll make it all, when it comes to actual payment, we'll see it again here in court. Maybe we'll bring you back. And, look, good people who do good things should be deserving of these types of actions. So I'm glad that you came today, but most importantly, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Thank y'all so much.
Yes, wonderful.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. We'll get the right amounts, Commissioner, after, we'll get the right amount and bring it back as just sort of an acknowledgement after Teresa checks Commissioner Modis's availability. Okay. At this point, we're going to move to item number 2. It's another presentation, and this is for Bob Hall Pier Design Feedback Study. Today, Commissioners, you're going to receive the final study, and we're going to get a chance to talk about it. And to do that, we have our experts with us, Mr. Will Pettis, whose firm Pettis Advertising was the responsible coordinator for this awesome survey. And joining online virtual, Connie, just make sure she's got the ability to, is Deb Prost?
She's sharing her screen.
Oh,
at the
that's her
moment.
screen. All right, awesome.
Good morning. Can you hear me, Judge?
We can. So
Okay.
I'm gonna hold on just 1 second while we make some adjustments. And Will is at the podium. He's gonna introduce you and set the table so that you can run us through this presentation. Will?
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Judge, and thank you, Commissioners. My name is Will Pettis. I was hired to administer the town hall meetings and gather survey data for the proposed new Bob Hall Pier. We had our first town hall meetings in July of 2021 virtually. And before those town halls, we released a survey that had over 1,600 participants. The opinions and concerns gathered were given to Jacobs Engineering, who used those opinions, wants, and needs for consideration in their designs. Recently, we had our second set of town halls in the end of January of 2022 that had options for in-person and virtual. renderings and drawings of options for the proposed new pier were presented. A survey was released for which 669 people participated to get feedback from the community. That leads us to this moment where my partner Deb Prost, who is here virtually, who will walk us through those results. Thank you, Commissioners, Judge.
I appreciate it. Welcome, Deb, and we do see your slide deck and first slide on all our screens. So whenever you're ready, we are too.
Perfect. Well, I'm delighted to have an opportunity to be here today because my business, I love, love, love being able to go out into communities and talk to stakeholders and consumers to be able to get back this feedback to give to my clients. So the fact that we had such a large spectrum of feedback, not just from Nueces County, Corpus Christi, Padre Island, but also from outside of the area, is just heartwarming. So before I get started, I would like to thank Commissioners Court, and in particular Commissioner Brett Chesney and you, Judge Canales, and all city staff that went into helping us. We would not have been able to conduct the town hall meetings and send out this survey link to all the stakeholders without your help. So thank you very much for that. So I'll just walk through this. I won't spend much time on this page because Will kind of went over it. The two phases that we had back in the summer to get to the initial input, 2 town halls, also 22 one-on-one surveys, as well as this almost 1,700 consumer response. And then there was a little bit of a lull while the design team was designing. And then once we got those designs, that's when we went into this phase 2, which were 2 more town halls, as well as another online survey. And the town halls were very well attended, about 200 or so there. So then the second survey, as Will mentioned, had almost 670 responses. These are all highly statistically significant sample sizes. This is just some of the renderings that were shown. I know they're a little bit small on this deck, but in the town halls, they were like 3 feet by 6 feet, very large. We have pictures of some of the consumers going around and looking at them and being able to refer to them. This was one that was more of a zoom up that had labels on it. And these were also all shown in the survey itself as well. So if they did not attend town hall, these were in the survey link. We also went over in the survey the differences between the old pier and the new pier. For example, width going from 15.5 to 20. The fact that there was no public event space on the old pier, but that is designed into the near pier. There was a restaurant, of course, on the pier, but it expanded and rotated for more ocean views. There was no covered event deck, and now there is designed in a deck with views to the ocean. There were small amount of concessions and retail, and that's greatly expanded in these designs. There was a small outdoor space for dining, and that's greatly expanded. There were no shade structures or seating structures, and the designs show several. Public restrooms were really only in the restaurant, and now there's 2 sets separate from the restaurant as well as those that are in the restaurant. There was only 1 T at the end of the pier. These designs had 2 mid-span angular Ts as well as a greatly enlarged angular T at the end. The NOAA equipment was present in the previous pier, but it's being modernized and expanded in the new pier. There was no public messaging for safety, life safety, riptides, that type of thing before, and that's being planned in now. And yes, there was lighting, but it would be greatly expanded to include both safety lighting as well as fish lighting. And before I get into the results of this particular survey, I thought it was important to go back to one slide from the first survey with the 1,700 constituents. This pier is used by everybody for multiple things. The 1,700 folks got to say how many things they did. They could just click and write in. And so we had, they do an average of like 2.2 things on the pier. They walk on it. Just for the ambiance of it and to enjoy the sea breezes and the views and the stargazing and the sunsets and watching the surfers and talking to the fishermen. They eat at the restaurant, half fish. So those three are all pretty much equal, just enjoying the ambiance, walking, eating, fishing. They're all equal in use of this pier. Another 40% said they enjoy the bar. 37% said, yes, I just go to sightsee and people watch. 31% specifically watch for the surfers and the surf. 13% shop, and 10% say that they fish specifically for shark. So lots of uses for this pier. People love the pier, and you'll see they can't wait for it to get back up. So what we did is show those renderings that I showed you initially and had the consumers rate on a 5-point scale from very appealing down to not appealing at all. That's over here, the scale. There are 5 points, very, somewhat, neutral, not to, not at all, on each of these particular designs of the pier. So you can see the scores down here. Very appealing is 86, and it's the blue bar. So you can see how large these blue bars are. And then the somewhat appealing is the red bar. And then it goes down to the other colors. So if you just look at this top box, the very appealing, you can see that the scores range from 68 to 82. And if you add in the very and somewhat appealing, which is what we call the top two boxes, the range was way in the high 80s and the low 90s. Range from 84 was the lowest, but most of them were in the 87 up to the 93 range. So what this is telling me, but the fact that these scores on the top box are so positive, when you have 86%, people are going, yes, we love this. It's very appealing. There's an emotion to that. So on the pier, and then how it's set up, number one relates to the legend below, number one. So pier width being expanded, you can see 86 plus 7, that's 93%. You're never going to please everybody, so there's usually always going to be 2 or 1% here on the not at all appealing, and a few people didn't even have an opinion. But the fact that this scale, you can just see from the size of the blue and the red bars, they really liked these designs. The expanded angular T at the end was 82 plus 10. That's, again, over 9 out of 10 saying that they find this appealing or very appealing. The modernized NOAA equipment was 77 plus 10. So if you add those two together, that's 87. You can see most of the rest just kind of fall into a neutral category there, somewhere between 3 and 9. The shade structures and seating, the fourth highest item, 75, very appealing, plus another 12, that's 87, almost 9 and 10. The night rendering, which I showed you earlier, item number 5 here, is 73% on the top box plus 15, so that's 88, almost 9 out of 10. The overall pier layout, number 6, again 88. The 2 mid-span angular T's, that's item number 7 here, which is 87. Various fish cleaning stations came out at 84 with the 2 added together, and the end of the pier design with the expanded angular structure, really large shade structure came out also at 90%. So that was the appeal of the overall designs. Then we drilled down into just that entrance area when I showed you the large schematic that was kind of labeled. And you can see, to no great surprise, what was like the highest is the 2 sets of public restrooms. That's something that we had heard in the original study about the or the amenities that were wanted. And you can see that 86 plus 9, that's 95% saying we really find that appealing. A few people in the comments, were interested in having more bathrooms back at the end, but you can see you're talking down into the 2 and 1%. The expanded outdoor seating area, when you look here at number 2, that's also close to being 9 out of 10, find it appealing. The shade structures on the entrance plaza, 77 plus 12, so that's 89. The expanded and rotated restaurant, item number 4, 77 plus 11, so that's 88, almost 9 out of 10. The second story covered event deck, this is item number 5. Again, 85% when you add the two together. Concessions and retail building, item 6, the 73 plus 16. All of these, as you can see, are up into those 80s and even 90s. The overall pier entrance, which includes signage, the public event space, shade, seating, similar score, and then the public event space as well. So the designs that were shown were viewed to be appealing to very appealing. Now, we gave the consumer several options on, for example, the entrance signage. We showed an option A here with more of an obelisk, an option B, which is more of an overhead traditional sign, and option C, which had more of a nautical kind of theme to it. So the survey was set up to say, which do you prefer the highest, the second highest, and the third. So if you go down here to the pie chart, focus on the purple, B, which is the overhead sign, was the highest at 43% on the most preferred. The obelisk had 28, the red slice of the pie, and the yellow slice was the nautical. So to the right, I then put the top two preferences. So here's that 43% again from the liked best or ranked the highest. And then I added in the ranked second. So if you have the highest and second highest, that comes out to 82%. So 8 out of 10, a little over 8 out of 10 preferred this overhead slide. You can see the others, the 28 coming from the first preferred, there was 34%. On the second preferred, that makes 62. And on the nautical, that was liked least best. Even though they were similar, A and C was similar on the 28, 29, the nautical had less on the second. So the winner from the consumer perspective is going with something in this light, an overhead design. When we looked at the shade options, 3 were shown as well. F was what we're calling a trellis design. G is just more of an overhead design, and then H is a cantilevered. So if you go to the purple slice, the largest one, this cantilevered H, 6 and 10 basically preferred that one. The yellow slice, 24% preferred just the kind of overhead. So the trellis, which lets light through and sun through, was like the least at 18. When you add in the second response, there was another 18% on the cantilevered, so that 3 out of 4 preferred the cantilevered. Now the overhead had more, 60% on the second preferred, so that there's 84. So you can say, well, that was higher, but not really, because if you look at the passion score, it's a 58 versus a 24, more than double on that which is liked best. So from a statistical perspective, the cantilevered design was the winner on the shade options. On the seating options, they were shown a Q, which is more of a rectangular cement structure. Option R is a combination wood cement, and then S had more, it was cement with kind of angular stiles. So if you go to the most preferred, and check the purple slice out, it was 62% liked this kind of wood cement combination. Then there was 21% on the rectangular and 17% on the angular. And when you add in the second most preferred, so you add the 62 with the 18, that's 8 out of 10 preferred the wood. On the rectangular, you did add another almost 50% on the second preferred, but look at the difference between the 62 and the 20. It's 3 times greater liking the wood cement on that passion most preferred score. Angular was 50%. So then we got into just an open-ended question. Just tell us any comments you want, anything you want to say about these designs, about the pier, anything you would like. So I divided these into kind of positive comments, and then there was a group of concerns, kind of negative, and then I'll flip the page. There was a few suggestions as well. So by and large, and the highest response was about 12% were saying that they love it. They thought it was a very thoughtful design and that it was great. 5% said, and people could, write, some people wrote paragraphs because you have the full verbatims in the report, and there were some people who got very verbose, and so I printed everything, that came in the town halls as well as in the survey. Another 5% said, oh, let's go. We want to get it done. Let's get going. Another 4% said, well, having all this shade is great. That's just good. Another 4% were saying the lower cost options are okay because in the town halls, a lot of discussion came out about like a parking lot right on the beach versus one being built on the other side of the dunes with a flyover. And some of the amounts were discussed in the town hall. So a lot of people picked up on that when they filled out their survey. And what they were talking about is, don't spend the extra money on the flyover to park behind the dunes, just go with the beach parking. They missed the restaurant and want it back, about 3%. The seating and furniture is good. 3% said basically keep it a pier mainly for fishing. Here, this coordinates park on the beach versus behind the dunes, kind of coordinates with the low cost, but I separated them because one was particularly referencing cost, whereas the other one was specifically representing the location. Relaxed sightseeing, the second floor conference center is good. There was also just some other fewer comments just regarding the expanded width being good. They liked the website, that future Bob Hall Pier website, and the expanded bait and tackle shop. So on the concerns, the biggest concern is maintenance. And that's what came up in the town halls as well, with the birds, with the wind, with the salt. Lots of comments about, whatever is built, we've got a lot of tough weather here. We've got a lot of things to contend with. So the maintenance, huge concerns about that. Then there was some comments that was just like, kind of like keep it simple. We're not like New Jersey. We're not like, Galveston. We just, want to don't overdo it. Make it nice, make it iconic, but kind of keep it simple. Be sure it's hurricane proof. We don't want to have to build it again. So there was about 5% comments like that. And some people, felt that there shouldn't be events on the pier. They want the pier to be the pier, and the restaurant should be completely separate elsewhere, not on the pier. That was only 4%. They want to make sure that none of these shade structures interfere with casting at 4%. Some people, almost 3% talked about, making sure that the benches and stuff are kind of homeless proof with bars and stuff on them so that people can't lay down, just to control that. Again, no dune parking, use a shuttle bus instead of parking behind the dunes. Some people, 1.6%, were saying that, don't have fish cleaning on the pier because of the odor, and it's dirty, and the debris that have to go into the water. Some felt the plaza was a little large, and no benches in the fishing area, and then a few other minor comments. Then on the suggestions, these were only about 1 to 2%, but more safety features like lifeguard stations. We really didn't discuss all that because I think in the survey, because it's kind of like, I know that you all, it's not really a design feature in terms of these types of shade structures and amenities like that. Safety is safety, but they really wanted to make sure that, all the safety was going to be there. As I mentioned before, some said more restrooms in the middle. There was some conversation about, hey, why isn't it free admission on the pier? It's free in, Florida and Alabama and California, and why do we have to, charge to go on the pier? It's a community asset. People really want to have enough trash receptacles and removal regularly so that, the trash doesn't go into the ocean and, it's not toppling out of the top of the receptacle. Some people wanted more shops, a coffee shop, ice cream shop. Be sure there's pier cams. A couple people said make it longer, which we know based on the Army Corps of Engineers, that's not possible. Some people said one bump out versus two. Charge per person versus per pole, have a better restaurant, and a lot of other single things, which I'll let you all read. But let me just read off some of the verbatims for you. Like, all looks great. Looking forward to the finished product. Any plans to address the wind coming off the Gulf and its proximity to outdoor dining? Wind blocks, screens. The current design looks like wind would blow right through the outdoor seating with no block for diners. Adding shade wherever possible is a great idea. That influenced my decision for the shade structure preference. Please add in as much shade as possible. Thank you for your efforts on making this great pier for our beach. It looks great. I have been coming to this pier since I was a child. We live in Atacosta, Texas, and we're hoping to have the pier repaired soon. I hope that bathrooms will be open around the clock. You should also have a webcam. I love the overall design. However, stargazing is one of the best reasons to be at the beach after sunset. The amount of ambient light the artist rendering shows might hurt that. Be aware of it. I think the pier should be built with future expansion for retail. I think of ability to host farmers markets or even add additional shops, such as water sports rentals, tackle, etc. I like it. I love it. I really like it. We need something there fast. I miss the restaurant. Get it done. Get it started now. Great job. I'm excited. Great plan. Looking forward to the end results. Facilities are nice, and the key will be proper maintenance of the facility. That just gives you a little bit of the flavor, but there's probably 50 pages of comments that are in the report.
Thank you,
This
Deb.
is just a word cloud of all of those verbatims. That our software counts up all the words and kind of, puts it in here. Seatings, event, parking, great, fishing, design, good space. It kind of reflects the graphs that I showed as well as what I read. So that's it, commissioners and judge. This is the report. These are the feedback from your stakeholders. Would you have any questions?
Yeah, let me throw that out.
Judge, just a couple of
And-
comments, and really just to thank Will and Deb for this great work. Quite honestly, I think they contracted for more than they bargained for, and certainly we need to address that too. But they did a lot of work, a lot of extra work, a lot of extra activity, because we really, as a court, were interested in getting public input. We really wanted to know what the people thought. I think we captured it. I think y'all done a great job of facilitating this whole process. I couldn't be happier with the outcomes, because the outcomes are whatever the outcomes are. Well, nobody up here tried to control the outcomes. We let Will and Deb do their thing. The judge and I certainly had input on different parts of it, but we really gave you all the freedom to be the professionals to do this the way you wanted to do it, the way that you could get the best outcomes or the most honest outcomes, not the best, the most honest. So I think we've done that. The court's got a lot of work to do on this. Obviously, we can't do every single solitary thing that everybody came up with, but I think we're gonna make this a fabulous project once we tighten this up and start talking about the real costs. And I think this is just going to be super cool. I don't know how else to say it. I know it's a kind of a goofy word, but I just think this is going to be such a cool project, and it's going to be iconic, and it's going to be something everybody can be really proud of. So I've read all this. I've even read most of the verbatims, quite honestly, and You've given us a lot to digest, and so, again, my thanks. I mean, I know you got paid to do the job, but sometimes people, do a job that they're paid for and they don't do a good job, but when you do a good job like y'all have done, you need to be acknowledged for it, and we definitely got our money's worth on this, in my opinion. And I thank you very much to both of you for putting this together, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Chesney and the court. We really do appreciate it. It was a lot of fun to work on this project. It was really interesting to get to talk to y'all's constituents about this project and how passionate they are, and how much they do want this pier and what they see and envision for it. And we just really thanks for that opportunity. Deb and I both. It's been great working with everyone, Judge, you, Brent, everybody. So thank you.
So, Will, I also want to throw out how important these surveys are. We have really now understood that when we get to the details, you've given us a blueprint for how to address some of those really interesting nuances. Like fishermen, shade is amazing, but if you put it in the wrong place, it could affect casting. Same thing with bait stands. It could affect your experience if they're in the wrong spot. But then we reaffirmed that which we knew, but we needed to make certain there was a justifiable case for investment, like the bathrooms, like the width of the pier, and like that very important geometric mid-angular structure at the end. One of the things that's wonderful for me is to see the NOAA weather station so widely supported, because we think we can grant our way, to that equipment. I know that one of the extras that you did, and I want to acknowledge, is that you guys attended every single Bob Hall Pier Committee meeting. And it was from those unique stakeholders that a lot of the style, if you will, of the survey and the town halls and some of the important pieces of the messaging, including the now iconic logo and that was on billboards, was really conceived. So you did go above and beyond, and I think that the community is incredibly appreciative to our court, but it's a reflection of y'all's good work. But I really think that we now have the ability, based on this survey, to make great decisions. And I think that that's important. And my takeaway, but I want to just double check it with you and Deb, is that we got overwhelming support to build this pier better. We got overwhelming support that the width is super important, as is the angular structure, and then there's some definite thoughts about the aesthetics. And as far as the amenities, it really does feel pretty strong that you have, when you get 75 to 80% of your constituents agreeing on anything, I mean, it's wonderful to see the 5 to 7% that says, hey, I think I'd rather go in a different direction. But what I'm seeing that this survey conveys to this court is that you have an overwhelming majority of residents who want to see as many amenities as we can afford. Is that a good summary?
That's a pretty good summary. As far as the data is concerned, Judge, yes.
Yes.
Of course, yes. As far as the surveys are concerned, yes.
Right.
It's up to you guys.
Absolutely.
And what y'all do to make that happen for them.
Right.
That's something that's out of our purview,
Yeah.
but I have a lot of confidence in this court as well as you
Thank
to
you.
make it happen for the constituents.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up for just questions. Commissioner Modis.
Sure. Just the process, I think, obviously on an investment this big, we really require to have this kind of input and collected, the data gathered and presented this way. I think there's some smaller projects that we really should self-reflect as a court and try to do this internally. But I think there's a certain level, and this is definitely one of them, because the amount of money we're putting in and the amount of people that are impacted on a daily basis. So I appreciate Will, Bill, and everyone who's been a part of this. But I'd like to see us kind of mimic this for future projects. So
Agreed.
don't go too far away. We know where to find y'all.
Sure.
But I think that this would be helpful to really get more and better feedback, but also, I don't want to say to justify, but to explain better, to really break it down in a way that people can see it, envision it. There's no slant here. I mean, y'all part of the community. You just want to reflect that feedback, whether it's good or bad. And here, obviously, it's good, but mixed in. I appreciate you all including some of the comments that people felt were of items they felt that were not important. So I think that's important to share too. I think that goes with the credibility of the presentation. We can't just talk all good and all fluff. And so that's what I appreciate with this. And so I hope we do that, Judge, with some of these other bigger projects that we may have. I think to get something maybe on this scale, because like I said, I mean, everyone from every precinct is impacted by this project, no matter where they live in the county or in the area. They're going to go and enjoy it. So, but I would like to see this mimicked for some future projects, and I think that would go a long way in helping us see if there's a need for it, and also for the public to understand if we invest money, this is the reason why. We have it laid out based on data, based on collection, based on town hall meetings, all the input that we've collected. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Morris.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I just want to say that I appreciate the presentation, but I myself would approach this very carefully, slowly, because no telling what the economy is going to be doing. So that's my take on that. Just take it a slow approach and make sure we can afford whatever we decide on, and for the future also. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner, anything else?
No, ma'am.
Well, you know, if my old man was in the room and he was kind of as he is for me, my mentor and my, and an icon also in your line of work, I would feel remiss if I didn't recognize him. So I'm going to ask you to recognize your dad, because he really is, when I think about somebody in our community who does have a pulse on how the sentiments go with regards to marketing and advertisement and input. So I just want to acknowledge him, but it seems more fitting if you do it.
Sure. My father here, he came today just to, this being the wrap up in the last part of what we were contracted to do.
Yeah.
He wanted to see as it came to fruition. And
Yeah.
he showed up today. Bill Pettis in the gallery.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you. And I really do think one of the comments that was made just this morning on another matter, but they reflected on the history. So, in 1983 was the last time we saw a christening of this pier. And, that's when I graduated from high school. That was my senior year in high school. So, that is a long, long, long time ago. And I think that really what the purpose of these surveys are really to understand that the investment is about to be made for the next 50 years. And so I think that what we did here was we're able to capture the sentiment for our future. And it's just fantastic. And I want you to know you've inspired us. I know that Daryl Earwood, from our Chief Information Officer, who was very much a part of our virtual town halls, that as Commissioner Mara said, is that maybe when we have major projects, we go this route, but even still, seeking the community's input and being able to do that on a regular basis through our own, formatting, through our own website is critical. And so, last question for you. This information, as it's just been relayed to us, can we get it on a website so that everybody can see it?
Yes, actually, I released a press release this morning to the media in regards to that. You can go
Great.
to our website that we've referred to throughout this process. It's called futurebobhallpier.com.
Great.
Released a survey this morning, so you can click on it, look through it, see all the images for the pier, lots of information there, and we kind of use that as the hub of information throughout this. So,
Okay,
yes.
great. So I'll just repeat that. So futurebobhallpier.com, and you can get all of the information that we saw here today. And even though you're not going to literally talk back to us in a blog, you know how to reach us, and you can always provide your comments to the court. So, guys, terrific job. Thank you. And I know that this data will drive our ultimate decision.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move on to item number 3, which is Scott Cross. And this is an interlocal agreement. And it's really not you per se, Scott, but it has to do with coastal parks. And it's for lifeguard services along the beach at Padre Bayou Park. And this interlocal agreement, I believe, is all in order. Do you have any comments?
Yeah,
Or
the only thing is, you're going to notice that this is a little bit higher rate than last year. when I worked with the Commissioner Chesney on getting Corpus to come on board and do this. We recognized that the city of Port Aransas paid a much more marketable rate than the city did. The city is now making those adjustments so they can recruit, better quality open water lifeguards instead of paying an open water the same as a pool guard. Doesn't make any sense, right? So they're making those adjustments, but we budgeted that years ago, so we're safe.
And Scott, I just wanted to ask you, you'll recall that earlier this year in budget, we appropriated an additional $300,000 from our American Rescue Plan Act funds. Are we utilizing those? Not yet.
No,
Do you anticipate that we will need to? And the reason I ask is, obviously, I'm just sort of thinking ahead as to our budget and how those dollars could be utilized for next year how do you see that?
If we execute anything with ESD number 2, and I understand there's some issues with ESD number 2 being around or not being around in the future.
Okay.
And as far as the city, there's some stuff that's being discussed there, but that's the place to land it. Your ESDs, emergency services districts, because at one point, I think it was Commissioner Chesney, or maybe Dale even asked me about what I needed to start up a guard program, and I said, no. It's way too expensive to start from the ground up. Let's find an ESD that already has first responder equipment, ambulances, fire trucks, all that stuff, and just supplement them. And so we brought a proposal to the commissioner, myself, Greg Fuller, and Chief Dale Scott, of what that would look like. Now, it was more than what we could write a check for at the time. But anyhow, that's where I figured that $300,000 would come into play at some point in the future. But we're way past that now.
Got it.
If we're going to do something like that with an ESD number 2, we need to start in the fall. It takes at least 6 months to get some of the rescue equipment they have, and we're too late now. We got to run with what we got.
So with this interlocal, then, you feel satisfied that the money that we have budgeted will cover it, and it also would satisfy the new legislation that we all support here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We're good.
Those were my questions. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And I'll second. And are there any other questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. And I do have a number 4, but they had reminded me that, Louis, would you like to address or just make a quick correction? And then I'll move on to number 4. And Scott, hang on for that one.
Yes, Court. So, this morning I was asked, did the county fire marshal issue a citation for a fire that happened on Thursday after a brush fire? And the corrected answer is no, he did not. It was issued by one of the constables in precinct 5.
Okay, thank you. It was issued, but by precinct 5.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And so I'm glad you're here, though, because this next item has some good information that Scott will help us. I'm just saying, glad Louis here to listen in to PAS. I'm sorry. And so at this time, please move on to item number 4. It's the submission of scope of work to what we all know is the PASS program, PAS, Planning Assistance to States with the United States Army Corps of Engineer. And Scott, I know that,
Yeah, so you had your big meeting with the Corps.
Yes.
Last week it was?
last week I did.
Okay, and so, commissioners, the PASS program, you've got a PASS program and you got a CAP program, Continuing Authorities Program. It's CAP, that's the acronyms. Anyhow, so we were approached by the Corps, gosh, over a year ago by Ruben Trevino and Coraggio. I can't remember what Coraggio's last name is, Judge. I forget. Yeah, what Maggie said. And so they actually came to me or Megan and I.
And forgive me, Scott, there's some feedback. Give us just a second. Try that, see how.
You know how loud I am anyhow. So they actually came to us in the spring. We actually did a full day with them touring our beaches. We're just focused on beachheads at this time. And this is post-Hannah. And we actually invited the city of Corpus Christi to the meeting as well. Well, that turned into some conversations that they had directly with the judge. Because under their program, you as a coastal political subdivision, You have to reach out to them. They cannot solicit you under the federal rules of engagement. And so we reach out to them, we engage with them. Then that turned into a letter of intent that the court executed a while back for the past program. That turns into a scope of work. And that scope of work is, excuse me, do we have it on the Commissioner's Court for this time around? The scope of work, I think, yeah?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and that turns into this scope of work. And in that scope of work, we identify what would be considered in kind, what we can use as match, and what our out-of-pocket costs would be. And this program right now we're discussing is both the breakwaters in Corpus Christi Bay as well as our beachheads. There is some other paths that we can take. Excuse me, I still got this nagging cough after that COVID stuff, but I'm not positive. Anyhow, and so the beachhead, we think there might be a faster track, but this is something that the Corps really wants us to do. They want us to get on the radar. We got to do it now because their 2023 budget is coming up. And if we're going to get financial assistance from them, we're going to get it in their 2023 budget. So now is the time to say, yes, we want to participate. I know the port is involved. Port has obligated up to $400,000 not to exceed amount for engineering. They're talking with Mott MacDonald. Mott MacDonald has already done a lot of preliminary geotechnical report work on the breakwater side. We've got all of our survey data under the Conrad Bluchard Institute stuff for the beaches, so we know what our baseline is and what it's not. And another thing that's important about this, I've said this for many years, but I don't think it's resonated like it will resonate with this court. If you ever find yourself in a post-emergency disaster situation and you want to go to FEMA and you want funding to help with a beach renourishment or rebuilding a dune structure to protect critical infrastructure behind the dunes, those houses, those taxpayers, if you don't have annual bench line data to support where you're at pre-storm versus post-storm, you're never going to get that help. It'll never come. They'll never fund it. And so, you know, there is a cost to doing our due diligence along our beaches to protect, you know, the infrastructure and the constituents that live and own businesses out there, and that's part of it. And until recently, after Hannah, it's the first time that we're really starting to recognize we need to be doing our due diligence and we need to be doing regular survey work. Right now, we know we need to rebuild our beach. We've never typically had engineered beaches in Nueces County. There's just no history of it. Every once in a while, we help with the erosion response plan and teaming up with the city, not because the city has any dune protection authority or any dune permitting authority. They do not. That's solely with the county. But they needed help since they didn't have that in order to qualify for KEPR, Coastal Erosion Protection Response Act grants that are funded by the state budget that through the GLO. They needed those monies to be able to dredge Packard when they needed it. And so the only way they were going to get that is that we teamed up with them to do an ERP. So we threw them a bone, essentially, is what we did. And so this program with the Corps right now will start checking some of those boxes so that we can design a path forward for the breakwaters to protect North Beach and the property and infrastructure down there, as well as what we need to do to regain our beachhead after Hannah. Now, if you don't do this, we already have the scientific studies and the data, and I don't know, Commissioner Modis, you showed a real interest in what Deidre was presenting, and it was pretty neat stuff, even though it was long. It will take 11 years without any more storms, no storms at all, in order for that beach to heal. And that's just your beach. That's not your dunes. Your dunes are coming back a little bit faster, but they're coming back on their own. So that's kind of what we're faced with. We need to go out and we need to figure out where the beach quality sand is going to come from. You know, the engineers and the Corps are going to help us identify that. They have inshore placement sites already that may be of use to us. We don't know what the volume of it is. And that's what we want to do. We want to take advantage of any inshore placement site or inshore dredging, because we are saving the Corps millions of dollars instead of them taking it offshore. When they take it offshore, they have to deposit in federal waters. And so if you go after deposits offshore, then it becomes a total federal program. It's not a program you partner with the state on if it's inshore, not in state waters. So that's how I'm involved with it and what I've been doing and helping the judge with it. And, I think it's going to be great. Edgar Shell Foundation has said they're going to fund the breakwaters. They got $20 million in the game right now. There's a path forward with all of this too, to where you can apply for CAPRA funding. And then you can go, if you get your projects as a Tier 1 project, and here's a great update for you. I talked to the GLO on Friday of last week about the new resiliency plan coming up, and I'm getting these put in for Tier 1 projects. If they're Tier 1 projects on the resiliency plan, they are available not only for CAPRA funding, but the states go MESA. There's no money cost to us. It's great. It's win-win, but you gotta work the system.
Yeah, Look, you did a great job of explaining it, and of course, these are the programs that are absolutely critical if we are to receive the assistance of the Corps. So if you don't have the scope of work, the letter of intent, then they just can't help you. And so, just for everybody's acknowledgement, the Galveston district is a very large district, and it does encompass our beaches and our waters that, but they also work on inland projects. And so I want you to know that for the commissioners that are not coastal, that this is the exact still type of program with the, with the Corps that would allow for us to have opportunities to avail ourselves of their assistance as well.
And Commissioner Modis, that Robstown is in your precinct, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, guess what? Major Ian O'Sullivan, who's the second in command at the Corps, his wife's family's from Robstown. And he actually reached out to me and he says, the Corps wants to help with this drainage study. They want to engage and help in the western part of the county. Unsolicited. I think that's great.
That is great.
Yeah, and it all starts with these types of agreements. But again, we really need sediment. Those beaches must be renourished. And you can't get the sediment or you can't be ready to receive the sediment unless you have the sediment incident management plan. So the work is very important and it starts right here today. So with that, do you have any questions for Scott? He is the bona fide expert here. Okay, there will be an opportunity to have a meeting with the Corps in the very near future. If anyone has specific interest, if all of you do, we could post the meeting. If you want to just, we'll work on that, but happen to think that that's a really good idea so you can really understand the opportunities that are available. Okay, how about a motion then to consider the submission?
So moved.
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And now, thank you, Scott. I think, give me a second. I'm happy to advance if you have anything else.
Well, me and JJ have,
Yes, you're next. Just, okay, yes, JJ and you have the American World War II Heritage City Regional Designation through the National Park Service. And I'll let you set the table and
Okay.
you and JJ can talk about it.
I'm very excited to tell you guys about this. It just happenstance, Mary Kay Skarupa, who you know, Judge, Mary Kay, our official wildlife person. I think
Yes.
Brent, or Commissioner Chesney knows her as well. She sent me an email that came from the National Park Service about this World War II Heritage District designation. Well, I didn't know anything about it. I got to looking at it, and just at face value, you know me, I'm always like, let's do it. So knee-jerk reaction, I'm like, let's go, let's do it. So I reached out to JJ because I thought, hell, me and JJ, we can do this. And so, we got the cemetery, and I thought we got NAS Corpus Christi, we got the Lex, and so this thing really started getting some wheels.
Good.
And then I reached out to, as most of y'all know, my wife works at the Chamber, and she serves on representing the Chamber on that South Texas Military Task Force Committee. So then I reached out to Jenny and I'm like, Jenny, we need some help because this is going to be a lot of heavy lifting. Jenny started digging into it and she found out there's only going to be one area selected the entire state of Texas this go round. So it's going to be extremely competitive. So we got to roll up our sleeves and we got to get cracking and we're going to need all of y'all's help on this. This is big. I cannot believe with the history that we have between Naval Air Station Kingsville, Naval Air Station Corpus Christi, Beeville, you know, Calderon Field, Lexington. I mean, all that we have here in this coastal Bend region, we don't have this designation. That makes absolutely no sense to me at all. And so, I mean, I'm fond of doing this. My grandfather was a World War II veteran. He was a staff sergeant cook in the Marine Corps, and he was at Pearl peeling potatoes when the Japanese bombed. And then after that, they sent him to Midway. So then he was on the island of Midway and fought the Battle of Midway. And I remember as a kid, he would tell me, he was an old salt too. He would schlitz tall boys and Winston cigarettes, man. And you know, he would sit there and he would tell me, we didn't have all that crap, you know, on the movie on the island. And they hit the mess kitchen and all they had was flour and blueberries. And he swore he would never eat another blueberry muffin or pancake the rest of his life, and he never did. He wouldn't touch a blueberry as long as he lived. But you know, so you know, I wish I'd spent more time learning all those stories when I was a kid, and I didn't. But
Scott, you represent coastal parks, and particularly Port A, have a very special significance to World War II. And before we pass it to JJ, just talk about why we believe we are, besides our 3 military installations, including our Naval Air Station Corpus Christi, which has trained our World War II veterans. Tell just briefly about the Port A piece of it.
I know, I get excited.
That's okay. Just talk about the Port A piece.
There were 155 millimeter, what they were called Panama guns, and they were in the dunes in Port Aransas. The gun turret mounts are still there. I don't know. Commissioner Gonzalez, I know you've seen them. I think you came to the sign dedication with Commissioner Chesney. Okay, so those are still there. We're going to highlight some of those in our pier expansion and other things, but that was an Army unit that was there at the time to protect against German U-boat activities. They had spotted German U-boats in the Gulf, which we know, and they had spotted them in the Aransas Ship Channel. And at the time where Harbor Island was, it was the 3rd largest crude oil tank battery in the United States. And so they were trying to protect that because at the time, those German U-boats couldn't fire, you know, unless they surfaced. That's how they were spotted. Now, they can fire torpedoes, but they're trying to bomb the tank. So that's still there. That's pretty significant, you know. And before that, it was home to Fort Sims, which was the Confederate fort in World War, or the Civil War.
And of course, JJ, we also have the USS Lexington. And so the Blue Ghost has a big, important significance. But in general, it's your office, JJ, that will be submitting the actual application.
Yes,
and
ma'am. Would
you like to?
Absolutely. As you mentioned, Judge, there's so much history here in this region that supported World War II. Waldron Field, King Ranch, they supplied most of the beef for all the Allies. Flower Bluff Hornets are named after the USS Hornet. There's so much history here, and then we have the Veteran Cemetery now. There's so many World War II veterans buried at the Veteran Cemetery. So I think this is a win-win. We do have a lot of support from the community that we've reached out to. Del Mar Economic Development Center is willing to lend us their boardroom to meet and organize to submit this application. So I think it's a win-win. We're all in, and we'd love to have your support.
And commissioners, our idea is to involve our library system. In other words, we need somebody to be a scrivener. So the concept is that we would put forth this application with your approval here today, but we would use our librarians to help be the recipients, right, of this information so that they could help JJ's office really put it together well, tell our story. Commissioner Modis just mentioned, and it's so true, of course, 41, President Bush, George Bush received his wings here. So did John McCain, and so does Bob Barker, but so many other really significant
Price is
members.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
So at any rate, with your blessing on this submission, we would come up with a date, give you plenty of notice, have a big day, probably multiple times, right? So people who work and versus people who prefer day, like a day and early evening, where they could come and share their mementos, their stories, their photographs, everything that would help put together a great application.
You know, JJ, just to let you know, Kingsville also covers the Bishop area, but I don't know if you've seen that wall they have in Bishop of World War I and World War II veterans.
No, I haven't.
They're listed on that wall.
Could add that.
And their families have a lot of history, a lot of stories, when we had the dedication, they talked about what they remembered, but there's a list of their World War I, World War II veterans on that wall.
So if you all would send, first, let me ask for the motion and, motion and a second. And if you all would just send your concepts, ideas, contacts to JJ, maybe copy Scott. He's been gracious enough to kind of help out here, but we'll get you the date at the Eco Devo. This is something you're going to want to participate in. And again, thanks to our partners at Fish for letting us know about it.
I think one of the things that we're going to be looking for a lot of help on with y'all's, specifically with y'all's elected positions, is being able to reach out to our state and federal representatives and get our senators and our congressmen to write letters of support, because this is going to be extremely competitive, and I really just want to blow them away.
I agree with you, and also our cities. So reaching out, for example, letting Commissioner Chesney help us with City of Port Aransas, and getting resolutions, all the good things that we normally do would really benefit us. So this is a group project that we're pleased to take the lead on. Thank you, guys. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Thank you. The budget planning schedule for the fiscal year has been presented to us, and Teresa's here to read it out, just in case we like to verbalize it for the clerk. Go ahead, Teresa.
Judge Commissioners, this is the proposed budget planning schedule. I'll just highlight some key dates. April the 8th, the county auditor will send out the budget package to the department. This has been moved down a week from last year. We had it on April the 1st. April the 29th, the chief appraiser will provide preliminary estimates of taxable value. May the 6th, the budget package from the departments are due back to the county auditor. June the 6th, the 7th, the 9th, and the 10th are departmental budget presentations. Then we have a tentative budget workshop also on July the 7th. July the 29th, the auditor tax office will do the calculations on the no new revenue tax rate and the voter approval tax rate. August 8th and 9th will be discussions on those proposed tax rates. On August the 10th, the county auditor will submit to the court submission of the no new revenue tax rate, the voter approval tax rate schedules, fund balances. August the 15th and 16th will be continued budget workshops to discuss the tax rate. On August the 17th would be the date that the court will discuss the tax rate and take a record vote on their action. August the 24th, the tax office will publish in the newspaper the proposed tax rate. August the 28th we will have in the Caller Times the proposed elected official salaries, as also the budget hearing. September the 1st will be the public hearing on the tax increase. September the 7th is the meeting to adopt the tax rate. It is also the meeting to adopt the budget.
Okay.
And then September the 14th is a key date for the tax office, because that's their deadline to send out the tax notices.
Okay, and you've had a chance to review it, and you think it's been reviewed by the tax office, by the court administrator, by the auditors. So commissioners, is there a motion to approve the budget schedule?
So moved.
And a second?
Discussion, Judge.
Of course.
On September 1, and I think this has happened in previous years, maybe almost every year. Let's see, what is
The
the
conference?
date? I thought we had a conference somewhere around one of
TAC.
those dates. Let's see. Yes, so September 1, right? We're set, the proposed calendar says we're set to have a public hearing. That is right in the middle of our TAC legislative conference. And I'm real leery about putting anything around there that, I don't know if the majority of the court will attend or even one of us. I know I'm going to make it a priority to go, because we got to be there to help meet with the other counties to plan for our legislative agenda going into session 2023.
Right,
So is
Commissioner.
there another date that we can change? And I can't imagine, other counties probably have the similar issue.
Problem.
And so how do they get around that? Do you have any suggestions, or is that unavoidable?
It is unavoidable, Commissioner, because I mean, I
Yeah.
did talk to try to make sure we had a quorum for that date, because it's kind of, it follows our schedule, and I think I got that we could have it at 8 o'clock or 8:30 in the morning, because some people were going to be off to
Well,
this
the session,
conference.
the conference starts on August 31st.
Okay,
So that's like day 2. That's right in the middle of the 3-day conference.
I
So
probably won't go, so I
That's
can
my
be
only
here.
concern.
I'll be here. I don't think I'll go.
Okay.
Unless I have to. Oh, you know what? Those are all online. We can all do online now, so I definitely won't go anymore. So I'll be here, so at least I'll be one.
Is it gonna be online? I don't know. I thought it
Well, I don't
changed
know.
yet.
All I know is everything, we passed that law now, they passed the law, when we passed the order that said all of our continuing education as commissioners and
Yeah,
judges
no,
can
no,
be
it's not
online.
about continuing education. It's about, this is a legislative conference that is planned every year by the Texas Association of Counties. And so I'm saying that this has happened previously. It happened last year. I didn't go to that one. But somehow our calendar worked previous years because I was able to attend those previous TAC meetings up until probably pre-COVID.
But I think it is a continuing ed seminar, isn't it?
I don't know. It's not about the hours for me.
I'll
I
at
mean, I
least be
get the
here.
hours other ways, and we're gonna have a conference here in June that we can get hours, that we don't have to travel. But my thing is that we have a 3-day conference, and that's day 2 of the conference. And so if I need to travel back and forth from Austin, I guess I can. If we have a majority here in person, I guess that's
That's what I
fine.
was trying to say.
But that's my concern, is that it's not only this year, but it's gonna be obviously every year. Now, next year, not so much of a big deal, but it would be a wrap-up session. So every year, it's always something. I mean, I know that you move one piece of the puzzle that moves others, but if that's unavoidable now and asking too much of you now, we gotta make sure to move these dates around for next year, because like I said, of the 254 counties, there's pretty good representation from most of the counties there. So I can't imagine they're falling on the same calendar, considering their fiscal years are also October 1. So what are they doing? How do they avoid that? And we need to do the same. So if we can't do that this year, because we have to adopt that now, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
But next year, we definitely have to make a plan for it. But I will let you know now, I'm gonna be in Austin for that, so.
Teresa, do we need to do it today? Can you do some investigation?
We can always amend our schedule.
Yeah, the public hearing, it's really, if you only have 3 people here, I mean,
Let's see.
we
Okay,
usually don't have anything.
then that may not work. That
Yeah,
may
I
not be a
need to-
problem. Okay, I had it showing September 1, so
Yeah,
then
I
we're
don't
good.
have it on the
Then we're
calendar
good.
at all.
Okay.
Sorry for-
And why don't we go ahead and, we'll approve today, and we'll, if there's some
no,
change, why don't we
that's
do
good.
just do another double check of everything?
And maybe they caught that, maybe every year I had it just
Maybe they
as a
switched it.
reminding calendar.
Sure,
So maybe
from now
the
on,
off
we
years,
can-
they don't
yeah.
have that, so that's fine.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Okay, all right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 7 is discuss and consider, I'm so sorry. Discuss and consider directing payment of ARPA premium pay, including the grant-funded positions. And I'll let Dale discuss ARPA premium pay for us at this point.
Yes, Your Honor, when we made the advance payment, we excluded the grant funding positions just so we have a chance to meet with our granting agencies to determine whether these are qualifying payments that we can make. We've met with all of them, and they appear that there are no problems. So we say that we will, when the first quarter comes up, we will make the payments to the grant
Thank you.
individuals as well as all others.
Thank you. Motion to approve. I'll make the motion to
No
approve.
discussion,
Yes, just let me get a second,
Second.
and then go ahead.
okay. A while back, and I was asking maybe last week, somebody were discussing it about the inland parks, people that were setting up and taking down, were they part of the premium pay, the ones that, the health department and the sheriff department, I think it was 20%, right?
The parks
They
is
were-
at
they were
10%.
not-
Public Works, and
Yeah, they were at
10%.
Inland Park's at 10%. We did make inquiry, because they were not, they were neither law enforcement nor were they public health, so they're just at the 10% currently.
But even like Public Works, They worked at the jail, right? I mean,
That's different.
Yeah, we did that
Not
one.
any different. This
No, I'm
guy-
saying to you that was 20%.
At the inland parks, people worked at the drive-throughs, worked at the testing sites, worked, setting up, taking down. So they were also there in an area that, they could very easily gotten sick, just like anybody else that was there.
But they weren't doing it primarily, I don't think, either, like
Right,
every single
but
solitary
if you don't
day.
mind, we can bring that up again, but
Was
this
it?
agenda item is really just for the grant-funded positions.
this is not
I
this
can
one.
let you, we can talk about that. Can we just finish this piece of it, though, first? This is just the grant-funded positions. He's gotten clearance.
Okay, this is for the health department?
That's correct. Okay?
All grant positions.
Right, all grant
This
positions.
includes the health department, includes our Indigent Defense Commission and other grants we
Right.
have in place for.
He's checked with everybody, and it's all good, and so we can now make the final clarification.
Okay, so
All right.
wait, I'm confused a little bit just because I don't have any backup in my agenda, and I don't know if I may have missed it, so tell me exactly why we're
We
doing this.
include the advance payment for everyone that worked for a grant. There are several grants we have. Most of them are for our city county health. However, we do have some through the Department of the Attorney General for Indigent Defense. We have some
OVAC.
others, some others we have, so we excluded those. Now, after talking to the granting agencies, they are all okay with us providing this, so we were just gonna say now we're gonna continue the payments of the funds for any granted positions.
And that's at the, whatever level they were
Whatever
approved
level
at.
they were at.
So why are we having to do this today?
We excluded them from they want to make sure they're getting paid, and we excluded them just for the issues of trying to make sure the granting agency felt like it was as qualifying as some of the grants could have been, where if we paid a premium pay, they could have been disqualifying of the grant, we could have lost the grant.
How many people are we talking about on this one?
Maybe a total of about maybe 15, 20.
But let me just rephrase a
have
little
it.
bit. We had done our job.
No, I know.
They did a little bit of a checks and balances.
And now I
And now
get it.
it's just a clearing it up for the record that anybody that works at the county that's funded by a grant, he's checked with their agencies, they are eligible for premium pay. So nothing changes. It's just a clarification on the record that if you're in a grant-funded position, you're gonna get your premium pay.
Right, and so Dale, this is not an additional amount of money because we
No.
already approved it, right?
We already put this in, and as we said, the ones that work for the health department will be the 20%, those that are working for the other areas will be the 10%.
It's
Exactly.
just an administrative thing that we're
That's
having to clean
correct.
up, basically. That's all I was asking,
Okay,
so.
I just thought it was going to addition
Yeah,
to that.
just an administrative.
Okay.
That's all.
In fact, Julie, did you want to say something?
I have a question. Dale, I know this premium pay is going to be offered to employees on a quarterly basis. How about employees that leave beforehand for termination or separation? Are they going to be paid?
Yes,
When will they be paid?
the last check.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, now the next one is also a premium pay discussion, and it has to do with premium pay under the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, for law enforcement under the Nueces County Collective Bargaining Agreement. So this is basically our law enforcement, and Dale, I'll pitch to you as well.
Well, this is in a discussion we had with Commissioner Chesney. He may be the one that put this
Commissioner
item
Chesney.
in.
No, it's okay, go ahead, I'll jump in.
The issue was when this initial item came up several months ago, maybe last year, where we talked about premium pay, there was a plan of possibly going retro pay and as well as continuous pay. However, we determined that retro pay was not allowable for both our state constitution as well as the collective bargaining agreement. So we went from a point of October 1 for all law enforcement agencies through the process of this, and we were at 20%. We've been working with Commissioner Chesney on possibly trying to recover some of those balances we had promised them. So we had put in several plans that we provide you on the list there at different rates for y'all discussion. We've included, right now they're at 20%. There's a projection of going up to 25, 30, 35, and 40%. Now, some of this issues might be raised that if we go higher, there's a chance that several of the employees may reach the maximum level of funding, which is $25,000. They may reach the maximum hourly rate of $13 per hour. And we know we excluded them from the administration fee that says their salary cannot exceed $78,600. And when we first started at 20%, there was maybe one or two. If we go any higher, that could be 10 to 15 to 20 of them. that would require a waiver to the Department of Treasury. Now, working with several people we've talked to, the waiver may or may not be allowed. It could be, and we're probably saying it probably will, but there's a chance it won't be. If it won't be allowed, then the county be required to pay back the funds that we issued to these employees, and that funds would have to come from the general fund. So just make sure if we do this, we do it with knowing that these issues that would apply, and we provide you the information of what the cost would be. Right now, with everybody included, at the current rates, we're around about $5.5 to $6 million of total premium pay. If we increase this up to the 30% that we're in possible discussion, that will take our total premium pay up to around $9 to $10 million over the entire period of 1 year.
And my question to you is, and is it any different if you carried it over to another fiscal year for the purposes of the waiver and the, for example, we have these thresholds? Is it per fiscal year or cumulatively for premium pay?
The $25,000 is cumulative.
Cumulative.
So once they reach $25,000, they stop. However,
No matter how long?
we can decide if you want to go another year. However, the final rules say that as soon as the pandemic is determined ending, the premium pay stops.
Correct.
That's the risk.
No, I understand it. I just want to make sure that.
So we go 25.
Can I ask? Okay, so quick, full disclosure on this, on how this came about. Law enforcement continued to inquire about when we were going to deal with the commitment that the court made that we know we now can't do, which is an amount of money to pay them for retro pay. We were told we couldn't do that, so instead of going back and forth on emails between Dale and myself and law enforcement, I just set up a meeting and we all sat down and said, okay, here's the issues, here's what's going on. We had, I don't know, there's probably 6 or 8 people there from the law enforcement folks. I can't remember, it was quite a few of them. Dale's staff was there. And we just had a discussion that I said we would bring back to the court for consideration. My recollection, Dale, and correct me if I'm wrong, and it was the numbers that Julie kind of threw out the day, I think, and that when we were in there, was that there was about a $2.8 million number at that point that represented what we had committed to those officers then in retro pay. So that was the number that when I sat in the meeting with them, I said, that is what I remember me, didn't speak for anybody else, but me saying this was the number. So that $9 million number is a lot higher than what I think we made a commitment to that unfortunately we couldn't comply with. And now what I'm trying to put before the court is a way to comply with the spirit of what we intended to do, which is to give them an amount of money for their efforts. So so what I need to know, Dale, is that $5 million and $9 million, that's not just, that's everybody, right? So this was just, this agenda item today is just for the collective bargaining folks, right?
And folks, if we go to 35%, that's $2.5 million.
That's the answer I needed to know. So
I'm sorry, say that one more time. It's a little.
Increased costs for the law enforcement, if we go from 20% to 35%, is $2.5 million.
And
2.5 million.
And that is the in the vicinity of, and I don't know, and we said 2.8 Masamana, right? I don't know. It could have been here, could have been there, and so I don't want to get stuck on that 2.8. But we gave them an amount, and if that amount is the fair amount, meaning that's what this court intended to do, and if it's 2.8, then make it 2.8. If it's 2.6, I don't remember the number. That was just kind of what was thrown out there. To me, that would be what I think would be preferable to do, because the risk is, as Francisco mentioned in that meeting, and well, he should have, that if the emergency is declared over, then we can't do this anymore. So to even get a shot at getting them their money that we committed to, we would probably want to do it this fiscal year, period.
And the only concern is the, how the court would deal with the 20 employees, more or less, that Treasury might reject. And so could you quantify for us what the risk is on that? What are the potential ineligible expenses if you capped it at $78,500?
And I don't want to do anything that puts us over any
What it is the entire, their entire salary, including regular time, overtime, premium pay, supplemental pays. According to Hagerty, we worked some calculations of the mean average of the state at the 150% rate is 78,600.
Okay.
Anybody's salary that once exceeds that level, you either need to stop them, and y'all decided for law enforcement to continue them, and we would file waivers with the Department of Treasury.
Correct.
Now, working with Hagerty, then, this is still pending
Right.
option of Treasury if they actually receive the waiver or not, and to determine the valuation of the waiver is true or not. If the Department of Treasury, again, if they say no to the waiver, which means then the county would be required to pay back every cent up to the 78,600, regardless of what it is. I have no idea of that amount at this time, but let's say it could be anywhere from 10,000 to 500,000.
And so what is the safe, let me ask it another way then, what is the safe amount that we don't have to apply for the waivers?
Stop them at 78,600.
Okay, and then what would that do, how would we do that in the way of them?
Eliminate half the people we're talking about right now.
For this year?
Yes.
But then we could extend them next year if we.
Well, that,
Again, the process of, we extend next year, if the pandemic ends this year, we can't
I get it,
extend
but
premium pay.
we can't,
Right.
we can't put the county in a position either that we have to pay back hundreds of thousands of dollars for doing it wrong. We have to do the
And
best.
when we talked to Hagerty, they said that you file waivers, and when we first started talking about this with law enforcement, there was maybe 3 that we'd have to file waivers for. And that's the elected officials, and we have another issue on elected officials. I need the county attorney to research whether we can still do that or not. And then also that if once anybody else reaches above that 78,600, the hard portion is a lot of our staff in the sheriff's office and the jail work a lot of overtime. And the $78,000 is the complete salary for all sources. So once that reaches 78,600, you must file a waiver.
So Dale, what would be a safe calculation to not have to worry about these waivers? Because, I mean, and then we would have, I get it, we would have to know what that is, because I'm not willing to risk having to pay back
We would
hundreds
have
of
to
thousands
find
of dollars.
the number of employees that would exceed that 78,000. There are not very many that, like I said, it could be anywhere from 10 to 50 if we go a higher
Bless
percentage. And if you go back and put in that $150,000 threshold that say we can't pay you any higher than this, then we stop there, then you will never have this issue.
Say that again?
25% will be pretty safe. You say we got them 20, we're gonna raise it to 25.
I can't tell you because I don't know their overtime. It's entire salary, whatever source they get it from. Now, we were basing our assumption on regular salary, regular supplement pay, regular this, and we said with this, maybe 5 employees would exceed the 78,600.
and we voted to accept that would be our burden.
We'd be saying that a burden, and then Hagerty said that they could file waivers for those 5.
Correct.
And that's at the 20%.
And we acknowledged that if it didn't pay, that we
They
would
go up
cover that
higher to 20
expense.
Go higher than this, then you have your captains and your lieutenants and your chief deputies that are now higher, that can now, instead of 5, it could be 20.
So how do we, so Dale, what I thought we were gonna get today, and maybe I didn't ask for it correctly, was the recommendation from the auditor's office on what we can safely do today. So if you're saying you don't still know, then we have to put this off again, because I can't make a decision until you, the auditor, tell us what the safe number is to give these people what we need to get them. I don't know how else to.
To give you a safe number, Commissioner, but I have no idea how much overtime they can work. If some of these,
Could we
when
just
we
run
went
it
to
on
record pay-
averages?
Pardon?
Couldn't we just run it on the average, like year over last overtime that they worked, and make an educated guess?
When I was working on the numbers from when we were talking about retro pay, several employees were working anywhere from 80 to 100 hours overtime weekly.
Weekly. Okay, I have another question that might be easier, that we could at least make some decisions on, that is still in keeping with the agenda item. You talked about the elected officials, and so the constables and the sheriff would be our elected officials that are not included in the final rules for ARPA. And so my question to the court, and really to you, is what does that represent dollar-wise on their current 20% premium pay? Because I think the court should acknowledge that that's, maybe Treasury changes their mind, but I don't need the county attorney to answer it because I was told by Treasury in the room, electeds are not covered. However, we might think about covering them. Let us think about it. They can change their mind or give us an FAQ, but right now, they're not covered. So my question is what would that amount be? And then would the court be willing to go ahead and just say, we're going to take care of that?
I think for the full year, it's about $40,000.
I'm sorry?
Full year is around 40,000. It could be plus or minus. I
Well,
know the
I know,
sheriff
but
is
we
like
can't put it to
19,
ARP.
and based on their salaries at the time.
We would just have to
No, but I'm
take
saying, I
it.
think we already made a motion to put that in there before, so you'd have to undo it, you'd have to rescind, and so I think, my point is, I think we've already made that decision and acknowledged that there might be some issue with the elected constables and sheriffs on those issues before.
But do you think that the court has already accepted the burden? Because I was just gonna say, I'm okay with making the motion to accept the burden of the 40,000 because we cannot put their premium pay. In other words, they can't get premium pay. So maybe you're right, maybe it has to be a rescission and then an acknowledgement that we're giving the constables and the sheriff, if he, I don't think he's accepting it, just the 40,000, just the 20% adjustment in pay.
I'm sorry. I think that was discussed before with the electeds, right, Dale, if I'm not mistaken, on possible burden on this,
No.
or no?
I believe when this came up, several of the elected officials came up, and the Commissioners Court took action on just those particular items, the sheriff and the constables, with an intent that we would require that we submit them a letter that they either accept or deny, and all the 5 constables and the sheriff all sent letters back saying they accepted the premium pay, because we knew that there was an issue, a possibility of salary balances because of how we do the budgeting and how the tax code and the other codes that we're talking about in the budget side of what the salary is for the elected official. And this was all coming as premium pay from ARPA funds.
So I think what he's saying is, we discussed it and we've already done it.
I heard
mean-
differently. I just want to make sure that we're not paying the electeds with ARPA funds. Right now, our motion is to pay premium pay to electeds. And what I'm saying to you is, we cannot pay electeds with ARPA, but what we can do is take that same amount of money, 40,000, and just declare that we're going to give them that 20%.
That, however we need to do it. I mean, I don't want to take anything back than we've already done.
So you want to make
You know
one
what? Here
quarter
comes-
payment, so.
Yeah, here comes one of our Haggerty, it's Seth. Seth, go ahead and unmute. I bet you have something working here. Go
Hey,
ahead.
folks, this is Seth Higgins from Haggerty. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes, we sure can.
Yep, so I just wanted to very briefly interject regarding this issue of premium pay to elected officials. So we shared some guidance yesterday after the Haggerty team was approached with this question. So we kind of huddled as a team and discussed it and reviewed the applicable guidance provided by Treasury. Now, the final rule that came out in early January did provide some additional guidance, saying essentially that elected officials, by and large, aren't eligible to receive premium pay. But this really comes down to a factual analysis of each position. Now, essentially, if someone has kind of financial or budget authority over these state and local fiscal recovery funds as provided by ARPA, that elected official, in all likelihood, would not be eligible to receive premium pay. Now, however, if it's an elected official that doesn't really have direct control over these funds, that would more so hinge on a case-by-case basis that would have to really kind of determine whether or not this position, like I said, has any authority over these funds and is really able to kind of enrich themselves through kind of appropriating money towards their own position. So while the final rule did kind of bring some additional clarity, they also muddied the waters a little bit as you kind of get further and further away from financial authority over these funds in terms of elected officials.
So your recommendation is what exactly, based on these new?
I don't really want to provide a direct recommendation since you folks are kind of the direct administrators of these funds. That's something I'd prefer to leave to the Commissioner's Court. Now, the more conservative, what I will say is the more conservative course of action is not to extend premium pay to elected officials. But I don't want to mislead you folks and say it's a hard no in the final rule. The final rule does not come down and say any elected official is forbidden from receiving premium pay. It's not quite that clear cut necessarily.
So then we could stick with what we've done and just acknowledge.
And then just acknowledge that we'll
we're-
take it over.
that if-
And
if
then
it-
the justification would be a fact issue. And what they told me in Treasury that day was that, look, make your justification, but a lot of it has to do with the disconnect of how Treasury, they don't understand really what a constable
Right.
does or a sheriff does in that interaction. So I think that as long as the court puts it on the record that we're going to take care of it and the exposure is 40,000, I think we're fine.
I think, yeah, I think we've more than done that today, but if you want to make another motion, Judge, that's fine too, and then.
No,
No,
as long as we're acknowledging that's going to be the course of action.
Right, because at this point, it doesn't sound like it's a hard no, so what the hope would be is that on this one, you know, we would be able to recoup it as ARPA funds, and if we're not, then we have, by this discussion and many others, acknowledged that we're willing to absorb that if we have to.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, it's the right thing to do, I think. And then I guess, Dale, I'm back to my question of, I don't know how to make a decision on these other percentages until I get some more numbers from you, because I can't just guess on what it's gonna be, and I mean, there's gotta be a way, like the judge said, we could use averages. I mean, we have to have some way of making an educated decision, and averages is certainly a solid start for me. So, I mean, I'm willing to push this back again. I hate to keep doing this because we're just gonna have, but I mean, if we keep pushing this back, but we make a decision in March, that's still, that's not considered retro pay, right? That's just considered, because I don't want to not be able to go back to that October timeframe, which is what I think we're around, right? We're still able to go back even though, because we're not calling this retro, we're just trying to figure out if we're doing it right. Right?
Since we
Francisco,
already
you wanna
made the
try
first
that?
payment of the 20% of the law enforcement, it'd be the second session of the bounce starting at the end of December. So we wouldn't go all the way to October, but we'd go back to December when we would count their time.
I mean, as long as, I would think we would go back, I would think we could go back to wherever we started this amount. I thought that's what Francisco had said we could do too, but I maybe not, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so.
This is something I'd like to discuss in executive session.
Okay.
Okay,
Judge,
then
I
how
guess
about
we
if
need to go to
we
executive
pass on this one for the
Yeah.
moment?
Okay,
All right?
thanks. And we probably need to have Dale in executive session on this one,
That's
please.
fine.
Yes.
And then also, I'll move on to item number 9. And item number 9 is the annual merit increase for health district employees. And again, we dealt with this one in executive session with our employment expert, and we don't do this, the city of Corpus Christi does, but I'm happy to hear your explanation, Francisco. I don't see how we interfere at all with this. This is a city decision, and
I think, Judge,
all
isn't
we
it,
do is just acknowledge.
isn't it moot? These people aren't,
I think it is.
no, I mean, it's moot because they're not at the health district. They're not county employees anymore. They're not our employees anymore now.
I think the
and-
question is, were they owed anything in the past?
The way the city works is it's based on the date of hire, so it depends on when the date of hire is on some of these employees. May get a small increase in salary from when their date of hire is till when they leave and go to the city.
Yeah,
So there could be a small increase.
I would just let the city handle it.
Right, so then we would just pass on this.
I mean, I'm just saying, well, let the city, they should be the one to determine what.
Unless they're asking us. Are they asking us? Because I don't think they are. I thought well, hold on, Julie, would you have information to reveal?
Yes, these employees get a 2.5% or a 5% increase on their anniversary date. So going back to October 1st. So some of them have already received it, but there's about 7 of them that have not received it.
Okay.
And so they're due that increase through February 28th.
And
But
so
this
are
is-
you looking for a directive? I mean, Dale, is there an issue here from your perspective, since your office is the one that issues these
Wait.
checks?
We're saying these are proposed increases in the salary. We have not increased the salary for these individuals. So from going from October 1 to February 28th, there could be a small increase in hourly rates for these employees, which could mean there is a liability of wages to be paid.
Now, These are not anniversary rates. The city told me these were merit increases that are based on some
merit
thing that they go through
performance.
and do. So these are performance-based that we didn't know anything about, that I know it's been
No.
going on forever, but we never saw them. So these are not anniversary increases, these are merit increases.
Wait, there's two,
If they didn't have any
Well, this is-
disciplinary action taken in the previous year, on their anniversary date, they would get a 2.5% increase.
yeah, and just so you know,
But these
there's
ma-
a bifurcation, Brent. You're right on some, but not right on others. So let's just take the non-exempt employees.
Judge, hold on. The only thing that's posted today is the merit increases. So we do not have any posting for this 2.5% thing, because this was not what I brought up, and I can't remember if I put this on, or Commissioner Gonzalez, or somebody put it on. I don't even know what you're talking about on the 2.5%. We brought to the table this merit stuff that we learned about, that we didn't know was going on. So the only thing that's posted today are the merit increases.
Okay,
Those
but
are what that we're supposed to be talking about,
That-
and the merit
Those are the
ones
ones that are
are.
in question, the 5%.
It's one and the same.
it's the same.
That's not what they explained to me. The city said they have to go through a rating system.
Okay, but that's
they did.
not what Tanya Weber discussed with us. Just so we know, Julie, isn't it accurate that it's an automatic merit increase, 2.5%, unless they've been disciplined?
Correct.
It's automatic, and it dates back to the anniversary. And the reason it's on the agenda is because the auditor's office has not released that payment. And we need to have an action to direct the auditor's office to release that payment. Now, there are some employees that had eligibility based on exempt status for merit. And by the way, it's not an automatic 5, it's up to 5.
Correct.
And the city makes their own determination as to what that number is. And that also is being held up.
Correct.
And I'm not sure what the disconnect is. The reason it's on the agenda is because it's our office holding up what they're entitled to. And we don't decide what they're entitled to, but we are holding up their payroll. And that's why
Correct.
we need to direct the auditor to release those funds as directed by the city of Corpus Christi.
That's correct. Everything you said is correct, Judge.
But you're telling me you don't know of the merit system that's in place that the city explained to me had to be done, that it wasn't automatic, that there had to get this 5% raise, that they had to be evaluated and scored. Are you telling, you're not?
And they have.
None of them, but none of them are signed.
Yes,
The forms
But
that we
that's-
got weren't signed.
But that is different than the 2.5%. That is what the disconnect is, Judge. There are two separate things here.
because there's two separate categories, Commissioner.
Exactly. And
There's
so we have not-
non-exempt employees and there's exempt employees.
Right, and so I was only posted to discuss the 5% merit raises on the exempt employees, because this is.
No,
not-
I did that, I posted this, and that was not the intention. It was to make certain that these people whose payroll is being held up,
But
does
it's
not get
posted- it's
held up.
posted- It's not posted wrong. A merit increase is not an automatic anniversary increase.
Let me
That's not
just
what
say
they
this,
call it.
I understand that the word may mean that, but that's how it was presented on all the agendas regarding the 2.5%. All we did was follow the same language, and Julie is here to testify as the HR that that
Judge.
is exactly what it is, the 2.5%.
I'm
If it
just-
needs to come back on the 16th, for your business, that's fine, but I'm telling you that we followed the exact verbatim language that the city uses to describe the 2.5%.
And Judge, I'm telling you, because I believe you did not put this on originally. I believe one of myself or Commissioner Gonzalez did, and I don't
Commissioner
remember who,
Gonzalez.
but it was not.
It was Commissioner Gonzalez.
Okay. It was put on because the 5% portion was the part that heartburn was had with. The automatic 2.5%, I've never even had a heartburn about that. I don't know who held that part up, because that should, if that's an anniversary thing,
Right
that's
here.
a completely, no,
Auditor's
that's a
office.
completely different, okay, but that's
Okay.
let me finish. That is a completely different category. The only thing that I had heartburn about was the 5% merit portion of it. That's what this agenda item was posted as. It was not posted on the anniversary thing. If the auditor held that stuff up too for the 2.5%, then I don't know why the auditor held that up. I'm not criticizing. He may have thought he needed to because we were asking about this 5% thing. So I don't care, no, I don't have any complaint with the automatic anniversary thing. My issue is with the merit increase, of which I do not agree should happen in the way it's happened. Okay, so
Okay.
if you wanna sever out the 2.5%.
I'd love to sever it.
Sever it out, because
Sever it.
nobody even put that on the agenda
Let's help
that I
as
know
many
of.
people as we can
Nobody put
today.
that on the agenda, Judge.
I did, and I discussed it.
I don't have a problem with the 2.5%
why
either.
you did.
Okay.
It's just the 5% that I was worried about.
Okay, so let's take the 2.5%. It's very clear to the court manager that
That's not even on
That-
the agenda.
he says it's not on the agenda. It sounds like there's no
There's no
discrepancy.
gripe.
Dale, do you have any questions with regards to the 2.5%?
Zero.
Okay, as to what's on the agenda now that we've bifurcated it, and I'm happy to discuss it again if we need to. But that 5% is an up to 5% and has nothing to do with any of us here in this community of Commissioners Court. That's up to the city, and it's a
Correct.
city policy.
Correct.
And all we do is pay what the city tells us to pay.
Correct.
And that's all we're saying, is that if the city gives the direction to the county auditor needs to follow that direction. We do not get to say how they do their merit. They follow the city policies, and we
According
just
to the
have.
agreement that we
According to
had
the
in
agreement,
place.
and all we
The
do
previous agreement.
is let our auditor pay for it. So I'm asking you what the concern is to following the city policies. We made a commitment now to follow city policies as of March 1st, and we had a commitment then to follow city policies
So what are we talking
previous.
about, 2.5 or 5?
We're talking about
There's-
whatever the city tells auditor to pay.
There's 4 employees.
The
and-
city, excuse me, Julie, the city, and you got a copy of this, sent a letter saying that based on what they were looking at, those people did not qualify for the 5%. And you got a copy of that too, and I got a copy of it saying that they would not qualify, and it was never signed. I didn't see any signed copies on there.
I'm sorry, I don't know which document you're talking about.
Well,
that-
whoever had the 5%, and I don't know how many there were, but,
There's 4 employees in question,
okay.
and they are exempt employees. And the policy that we've always followed is in the previous contract that we've had with the health department, health district, that would say that whatever we pay according to what the city pays. And this year, the city
But the city
decided to
said
pay,
no. The city said no this year.
they pay up to 5% this year.
They said no. They said they didn't think they qualified for it.
So I don't know what that document is. I have a suggestion.
And I don't know about the 2.5%, but, I mean, I don't know that, is that on the agenda here? Or do we just set it up for next meeting?
I
Or
mean-
what?
Well, we need to pay these people out that have separated.
I'm going to ask the county attorney who's sitting in the chair to please either take this to executive session or to please provide some guidance, because this is a recurring theme that we have already discussed ad nauseum, and we just need to get you guys to speak so that we can have some clarity here. It's our understanding from our last executive session that the advice was, it's the city who makes the determination, and we pay our employees. That's it. If you could provide more clarity, it would be great. Commissioner Gonzalez has a document. I'd say please get it, get clarity from the city, and give it to the auditor. But these people's checks need to be paid, and that's what's being held up right now. All we're looking for is clarity. Clarity from the city. It's very simple. We don't decide. They
This has
do.
nothing to do with the 2.5, because I don't know, I never knew about the 2.5, so this has nothing to do with the 2.5. We should have paid it, we should have paid it.
We should have paid it. It's being held, just so you know, it's been held up for how many months?
Well, I don't know why.
No, I'm asking Julie.
Since January 1st.
Since January 1st. So we want to make sure that that gets
So we owe them
taken
for
care of.
January and February.
Okay.
And of course, they separated on February 28th, so it's not going to be an issue
Okay,
any
so just
longer.
January and February, and then as to these 4.
No, the 5%, Commissioner.
And ask, and just so you know, we don't even know if the 4 got 5. It's up to whatever the city.
They all did.
They all did?
Yes.
Okay, well,
yes,
then
ma'am.
that makes it easy. So that 5%, the city made that determination. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and
You
so,
got- You got something to say there?
It's in their policy, Commissioner, that they were,
you have
that
the paperwork. He's more or less asking you if you have the paperwork that
Show-
showcases
they
the
approved it for
5%.
This year.
What they send me is a cover letter that states that they were eligible for it, and it's signed off by their supervisor or their department head. And then I also received the performance evaluations that they all had nearly perfect scores that made them eligible for the 5%.
So is there any way you could provide all that to the county
I
attorney?
have.
Oh, you have. So now what say you?
This is something that we should take to executive. However, there are some parts that I would like to place here on the record. One, there, pursuant to the previous Reformation Agreement, there was a section, and it's Section 7 of the MOU, that does talk about adopting the HR policies of the city. It says to adopt HR 4.0. Now, with respect to seeing that actual policy, we don't have it, but and I believe perhaps the auditor may have that. So to an extent, we have adopted the HR policies that the city has adopted.
Okay, and I think all we're really looking for is some sort of a letter from the city that says, we concur, these 4 employees get this percentage, and that way Dale can release the check. That's it.
I have the performance evaluation and the sign-off sheet from the department
So,
head.
okay, so we can take it to executive for further discussion, but it seems to me that, again, all we're looking for is to take care of these people who have earned and deserved this HR city policy merit
Correct.
increase.
Yes.
Okay, this is a city thing, city policy. All right, I guess we'll skip this one too and come back. There's no accrual of overtime at this time, Dale? I don't, all right, well, we just need to pass on 10.
Well,
And
you need to decide whether you want to continue the tracking of the future for 2 weeks.
Okay,
That's always part of it. We say there is no
right,
overtime, but then the
I don't
court.
believe there's, any issues forecasted, but I will yield to the court on this. Court?
No.
No? Okay, all right, then we'll pass on it, Dale. All right? Let's see, is Juan in the audience today?
No, Judge, he asked me to table this item, please.
He asked you to table it? Okay, I need a motion, though. Motion and a second?
Second?
And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. We're going to table to March 16th.
What number are you tabling, Judge?
B1?
B1.
So we already took the vote on 10?
No action.
There was no action, Commissioner.
State the item when you get to it, because y'all just jump around.
Good point.
I actually just said item number 10, we have no accrual of overtime, and then the tabling of the item was B1.
Number 9.
The next one was B1. And 9, we said that we were going to take it up in executive session, Kara.
No, I understand. Just for clarification.
Use your mic, I can't hear you.
For clarification, when you hit the item, maybe read the item. Y'all say B1, B2, B2, or B3, but just read the item. Judge, do you mind?
I don't.
Make a motion to table receiving the presentation from Turner Ramirez Architects for the planned renovations at the Calderon Building.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Thank you.
And then purchasing is next, and Michael's here, and he has an RFP number 3162-21, the Grant Administration and Project Management Services, the Federal Restore Act allocation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Scott left, but if you would outline for us.
Sure, yeah, I'll cover all that. So this is the Grant Administrative and Project Management RFP number 3162-21 for the Federal Restore Act allocation. We conducted a proposal opening on February 9th. The members of the committee are Judge Canales, Commissioner Court Administration Manager Ida Hernandez, Grants Administrator Maria Padilla, and the purchasing agent myself. And then we're also advised by Scott Cross, our Coastal Parks Director. We received 5 proposals. The committee met on February 17th to conduct our evaluation. The proposals were evaluated in accordance with the selection criteria published in the RFP. The criteria included experience, work performance, capacity to perform, and proposed cost. The committee scored Grant Works Incorporated with the highest overall score. The committee recommends Grant Works Incorporated for conditional selection. And
So moved.
And can you explain
And
what
let
this
me-
is
Yeah.
for, please, for the public?
So this is for the Restore Act is a large sum of money that I understand we got an update from Scott Cross this week that we
Yes.
got approval finally on.
Yes.
And we still have some work to do to finalize
Correct.
that contract. But this grant administrative person is going to assist us in designing whatever it is we need to do our submittals, I believe, on the grant. I think Scott's probably.
Yes,
a better
Scott actually
speaker.
is here.
Let's let Scott describe that
So
particularly.
this is all for grant admin. This is all the administrative reporting. They'll coordinate with auditor's office on financial reporting, milestones, deliverables, quarterly reports, all that. It's a lot of heavy lifting to get what we need to TCEQ to get to the Treasury Department. More so than I know I could keep up with, and I want to make sure we stay in compliance and we're audit proof as a sub-grantee. So that's what this is for. Excuse me. It's budgeted in the grant. There's money in the grant that's already been designated for this. However, one point of clarification on this. With this, it's real timely because we got those contracts yesterday for bucket 1 and bucket 2.
No, bucket 1 and bucket 3.
Bucket 3, I'm sorry. Thank you. Bucket 1 and bucket 3. Remember, and I've said this for years while they're going through this process, this is a spend and reimbursement program. They're not going to send you $7.5 million and put it right in your coffers. So we're going to have to make sure that we've got our ducks in a row for grant reporting. They'll actually help us do this, seek our reimbursements, and you can seek reimbursements every 30 days.
And just so we're clear, since this issue has come up before, so these grant administrators will charge us dollars, and then we will use the money inside the grant, which is permitted and allowed, and we follow the proper 2 CFR 200 procurement, and then we will submit those bills. So we will be paying these folks for doing their good work that will get us the big dollars. And that comes from a reimbursement, just like it does for any other federal grant, including American Rescue Plan Act. So this is the same process, and this is the recommendation by the committee.
And
Yeah,
Scott,
as
do
a
we
matter
have,
of fact, both these, your ARPA and your Restore, they both come out of Treasury.
Exactly. I just wanted to tell everybody, it's the same exact process.
and Scott, do we already have these funds available to pay? these
No,
folks?
you
No.
do not.
So
That-
how will that work?
Well, that's
Well,
what,
Once we get the contract executed, the grant contract itself.
Right.
We can go ahead and select right now. We don't give these people notice to proceed just yet. We get the contract, we execute it. Once the contract's executed with TCEQ, anything we do after that is reimbursable.
Gotcha. Okay.
so we will
Okay.
spend and then
Scott.
submit.
So Grant Works will be at the administrator, but we don't.
That's correct.
So Grant Works will be the administrator, but they won't be starting now though, right?
Yes.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. If we pull the trigger on them now, there is a possibility that any work that they did prior to the contract being executed may not be
Okay.
eligible. I would have to double check that.
No,
But
it's
I
okay.
tell you what, if I had a small amount in my budget where I could offset them to get this contract ready for us, I'd be more than happy to pay for it out of my own operating budget.
Right, but again, what he's saying is it's for this $7.5 million grant. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so your
Right.
recommendation by the committee, Michael?
The committee recommends Grant Works Incorporated for conditional selection, and might be a new term for y'all to hear. But what that means is upon approval of the conditional selection, purchasing will then work with Grant Works to come back and present contract documents to the court for approval of the award and execution of the contract.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry, you got it. He beat me.
And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Just
Aye.
make sure that the conditional selection language is in the motion, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, we didn't state it real well for you.
Yeah, and it's
all
actually
right.
listed in the agenda language. We're
Yeah.
starting to use that.
She's just
as well.
wanting us to be more clear, which I get it. We go
Yes.
pretty fast sometimes.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll move on to item D1, which is Human Resources, and it's discuss and consider not receiving, but revising the Grants Administrator job description, and also looking at our calendars and setting dates for interviews. We remarked last time that Maria Bedia has moved on to another political jurisdiction, and so we need a Grants Administrator to take that, to have that be selected. And so, Julie, what are you looking at for both items, the calendar as well as the description?
I don't have any revisions I'm not recommending any revisions to the grants administrator position, job description. But I would like to get this job posted ASAP. And
what are you thinking you would post for how long and?
Our policy states for 7 days.
Okay, well, I think maybe for grants, we need at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, I agree.
And then on the calendar, would you suggest that would be the following week for interviews, just if we're doing that?
That would be great, yes.
Okay.
At what level are we at? What's the amount we're paying here?
The current grants director,
I'm thinking about 80,000. I don't have that number in front of me, I'm sorry.
I wanted to say it was like 78, but that's
It
very
might be a little
close.
bit lower, right.
I can.
call on it.
Yeah, if you could text, and that way we could, but at any rate, so
We need to vote.
is there a motion for a 2-week posting?
I'd just like to consider a little bit more for this grant. I mean, it's only got 2 people in that office, man, they do a lot of work, so I think it should be at least maybe, I don't know, 85, 89, 80.
Well, we work on a pay scale, so are you looking at a certain number? We'd have to have a number associated with it.
Whatever number it is that gets us there,
At 85,000?
yeah.
Can I,
Commissioner Chesney?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, he wasn't through.
Go ahead, Commissioner Chesney.
The other thing too was I wanted to make sure that since we've changed our structure here, that we needed to add some language in here that the grant administrator would also report to the county manager as other appointed department heads would, and I didn't see that in here.
I think
did-
all department heads do that now.
Right, but it's not in here, and I think it's just,
In other words, change it to the description?
that's it. Just
All right,
because
if you
we've-
would make that revision, I mean, that reflects current policy. You don't need to have a motion for
I get it,
that.
but I think it's fair to tell people who they're gonna be reporting to that are applying, that's all. I mean, the rest of it looked fine to me, and that was the only added
All
that I
right.
had. So I did kind of look through this and couldn't really come up with anything else. I just wanted to make sure the court had a
So-
chance to look at it.
So pending that description, supplement that restates our own policies, Julie, I think you have your marching orders.
Okay.
What, 85, Judy, what's the level in that?
What's the level?
Yeah,
I would have to get the pay group on
Okay,
it.
all right, okay.
Or do you?
And so if we're doing that, is that going to be a general, that would require a motion for a budget change if that is what the court desires. I know that would be in keeping with taking care of the,
Well, or Judge, do we look at, the question is, do we look at a third person? I'm not saying we shouldn't pay more, I'm just saying, if we don't feel like
well, we usually do that during budget.
I get it, but because
me-
this came up, I'm
something
just
to think about,
responding.
though.
I'm just responding to the commissioner's comments about that.
Right, well,
Maybe
if you
instead of
take,
that, we should look for.
if you take the
something else.
current,
I don't know.
The grants administrator is at pay group 34. The starting pay for pay group 34 is 73,403.
Okay, I'm sorry.
plus the 10% premium pay.
They would only get up to 70,
Oh, that's right, to
78.
78.
78, yeah.
Okay, so they would make 78. So again, if that's the will of the court, I don't know if we've noticed it correctly, Francisco, for that change, but I suppose you could make a liberal interpretation of revising the job description, and then therefore you could make the argument that the pay increase is part of that. But again, I don't know if that's a motion you're making or not, or,
Y'all making a motion?
Can I recommend to,
I'd make a
Commissioner, if we
motion.
can wait until budget to increase?
Well, no, I'd like
the
to go ahead and make
salary?
a recommendation, we go ahead and consider that increase to $85,000.
Say again?
85,000.
We're only paying 73 now.
Yeah,
It's
we're
at
paying
12,000.
73.
okay, so what,
Well,
your motion is,
What is 73 plus the 10% you said?
which goes up to 78, because that's the max.
All right, go to the max, I guess. We can't go higher than that. I guess in budget time, we could go higher than that, right?
The budget position for this particular salary position is a pay group 34. Pay group 34, step one is at 73,403. And if we add the 10% of that is $7,340. So you then add those on top together, as we're talking about, that'd be close to 80,000 would be include everything inclusive. And then if someone comes in brand new, that's where they'd start.
And did we give a pay raise to this position over the last budget, or? do
No.
you recall?
No.
Oh, we did?
No.
And the
The pay group for
Yeah.
$84,822 is a pay group 37.
Okay, so that's your motion,
That's my
Commissioner
motion.
Gonzalez?
Yeah.
To move it to a pay group
And your
37?
second, is that Commissioner Chesney, that's a second?
And what was his, I don't know, here's,
It's pay grade 37.
and that goes to what?
It goes to
84,822.
84,000?
I don't second that, sorry.
Say it again?
No, I'm not seconding that.
You're not seconding that?
73 to 84? No.
All right, Commissioner
You
Mott
gotta
is
get
second.
somebody good in
All
there,
right, and,
But then they're gonna get 84.
all right, and they won't do premium pay, but they'll have the 84.
Correct.
Because y'all approve premium pay, they would qualify for premium pay as well?
They'd get premium pay also on top
Yes.
of 84?
Yes.
Okay, but
I
I
thought there was
thought,
a
I thought
cap,
there was a
Dale.
cap.
For them, even at 34, they wouldn't get, they get only a few $1,000s because their cap is 76,000.
Well, right, but I think that's what we're saying, is that if we
Yeah,
did
if you
this,
go
we
30
would not
you
do
go-
the
yeah, if
premium
you go-
pay, right?
Yeah, if you go to 37, there would be no premium pay, correct?
Okay, all righty. Now we kind of get organized here.
Okay.
All right, so you've got the motion and the second, and, okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign?
No.
All right, got one no and two noes? All right, thank you. So you'll get that posted. I did think you heard I don't know if we need a motion for 2 weeks, but I hope that you hear the directive is probably best for 2 weeks. Would you prefer a motion, Francisco, if to do the 2 weeks posting, since usually she just does 7 days?
Yes, I think we
I
would
think
prefer
that's
motion.
fine. I'll make the motion for 2-week posting, and thank you. And all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Just gives a chance. I mean, 7 days, wow.
Do we want to set the date for interviews yet, or not?
I'm happy to, it's part of the agenda, so if you look at that, that would be, the month. Today is the,
March, the third week of March. Man, I don't know what the, let's see, March.
I mean, would we say the 24th? I don't know. You know what, Julie, if you'll give all the commissioners a chance, we're coming back on the 16th.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
we would
good
have the
idea.
ability to really come up with,
Yeah,
it'll
that's a
give
good
us all a
idea.
chance to look at our calendars. And, but obviously, we're looking at the last 2 weeks of March.
Okay. I'll put it on the agenda to set interviews.
Right. And I'm just curious, since we just voted to do that, I'm wondering where that fits for that in our Corn Ferry study, if that actually gets us to the median pay on it.
I'll have to look and see as
All right,
well.
I think you should bring that back on the 16th as well.
Okay.
All right, at this
Thank
time, thank you. At this time, that concludes our regular agenda items. Obviously, we did pass on a few. And I'm going to move us into executive session, and I'm giving public notice at this time that Commissioners Court may go into executive session at this time is authorized by the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. So, also, this is in accordance with the authority of Vernon's Texas Code, Sections 551, 071, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 6, and 8, 7. We're going to have a Commissioners Court executive session to consult with our attorneys relating to litigation, real property, gifts, personnel matters, termination, county advisory bodies, economic development negotiations, and any other matters that may be discussed in executive session. At this time, for the clerk, it's 11:49 a.m. I'm also going to ask Connie to take us off our video, our mics down, ask everyone who's not a part of executive session to clear the courtroom. And
Before you go, can I ask one more thing?
certainly, let me just
I'm sorry.
finish. And that's, Dale, they've asked you to stay, so if you would, we'll take your item first. But in the effort to be thoughtful, I'd like to come back in 10 minutes so we can take a ladies' room break, and then we'll go into executive session. And again, the time is 11:50. Commissioner Chesney?
Yes, ma'am. On the education, on the grants people, the way I'm reading this is it's a master's in public or business administration, urban studies, planning, or related field, and a minimum of 2 years related, or a bachelor's degree with a minimum of 4 years of related experience. So, right, it doesn't have to have a master's. It just has to have a BA with
That's correct.
some related experience, right? So that would be, okay, I'm just making sure, because I don't want to, I never want to eliminate a good candidate that might have great work experience. So okay, thank you.
Is that one for?
The mics. Bring us back up, Connie, and the time is 3:25 PM. And we've got, a few pieces of business to conclude coming out of executive session. And I'll try to be methodical for the clerk, because look, some of them are executive session, and some of them are the ones that we passed on that I'll
Okay.
go back to.
Okay.
Okay, and I will call them out. So, on the first issue, and I'm just taking them in order, Kara,
Okay.
there is a motion to address A, and the motion is to allow Ernest Watering, our outside counsel, to respond to the letter regarding Padre Bayou Park.
Deanna, excuse me.
Yes.
But I believe the executive session was only for a consult item. I don't see it other
think she's
other
right.
place on the agenda
No action.
for any action.
It says discuss and consider.
It says discuss and consider response to letter,
In A, it's actually in the A.
and of course, I was
Okay,
following.
sorry. It's at the
Okay.
end.
Right, no worries. The motion stands, and I'll ask for a second. Second, okay. And all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye?
Abstain?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And there's no action on item B, okay?
I guess there was, Judge, there was a motion on that one.
Sorry.
Hold on.
Oh.
Did we?
Oh, but that was the one where we don't have it
That's
posted, right?
correct.
That was the one. Okay, never mind. We were good.
On the last one?
Yes.
Yes, I, okay.
Yeah, number 8.
Thank you.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Okay, no action on B.
Okay.
And on items C and D and E, are there any actions to be taken at this time?
Judge, I believe on C, we were going to make a motion to clarify with the city.
Correct? And we asked that the county attorney do that for us.
Right. So I didn't know if you wanted it as a motion or not.
Okay, I'm happy to do it. I'd make the motion that the county attorney work with HR to please clarify that portion that was discussed regarding the
I think it was C and D, maybe, Judge.
Yes,
merit,
C and D.
the merit pay.
Right.
I guess C and D are kind of
For-
related.
They really are related.
Yeah, I think so, however you
For
want to do
health
it.
district employees. And I'd like a second.
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then on item E, it's our intention to be provided some additional information on March 16th.
Judge, that was a motion to instruct the auditors to meet with union representatives.
Correct.
And come back with an agreed recommendation, if possible, between the union and the auditor.
And that union, let's just go ahead and, it's the collective those law enforcement, the union regarding the law enforcement.
ARPA Pay, yes, ma'am. And
Okay.
I think that also, there might have,
And then, let me see if, and let's clean that up. So there's a motion, and I'll second, and all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And it also, that relates to item number 8 on the regular agenda and item E on the executive session for the clerk.
Correct. Again, the motion for clarification that relates back to item 8 on American Rescue Plan Act, premium pay as it relates to law enforcement and the Nueces County Collective Bargaining Agreement. Our intention is to direct the auditor and the small working group to go and visit again with the members that represent law enforcement, and to bring back a recommendation regarding premium pay by next court, which would be March 16th. And that's my motion, and how about a second? I'm
Did the
sorry,
second.
motion, and I'll do the second.
You did the second. Mhm.
Okay, that's fine. And then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. I'm going to look to you, Francisco, to see if there's anything else left except for a letter I on consent. Nothing else, guys, right? Are they? Nothing else? Okay, and then so on letter I, which we also delayed for executive session, is there a motion regarding a letter I on CSP number 3187-21?
Judge, I would have two motions on that. I don't know if they should be made together or separately, so I'll make the first one and then come back around to a motion of direction after that. I would make a motion to reject all bids on letter I.
Okay, I'll second. Is there any other discussion? All right, motion and a second.
You need all bids and start over again?
That's my next motion, yes, sir.
Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
No.
Okay, one no. And then what's your next motion?
Judge, I would make a motion to instruct the county purchasing agent to send this out for the IFB bid, where this would be completely low bidder, no scoring, no committees, just the low bidder, and to include in that the significant change that the reef has to be bid on in that motion, and that be expedited and posted for a period of the minimum of 2 weeks and brought back to the court at the next possible meeting. Obviously, that's probably not the 16th, but by March 30th for a selection at that point.
And Commissioner, I'll just add a little detail, which is when we say the reef, you mean for the debris to be moved to a location to create a reef?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that's a motion, and is there a second? Okay, motion and a second, and all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
No.
One no, opposed, same sign, he did it already. Didn't get it out quick enough. All right, and okay, so that does conclude the court's business as I see it on the agenda for today, including the executive session items, as well as, all of the other items that were taken to executive session. We are going to move to adjournments in memory, and I have two. So I'll start off. They're both very sad for me because they were both very great personal family friends. I'll start with Victoria N. Garza. She was affectionately known as Miss Vicky. She passed away peacefully in her home on February 24th, 2022. She was born in 1932 in Beeville, Texas, to Pio and Rosalina Naranjo. She grew up in South Texas, graduated from Robstown High School, and married Ernest Garza in June of 1955. Her first job out of high school was with the State Welfare Office, and this was the beginning of Miss Vicky's aspiration to empower those less fortunate and find opportunities to uplift everyone around her. Her passion was to encourage minorities and women to have a voice in politics and to be able to participate in the election system. It was this passion that sparked her interest in serving on numerous boards. She was a trailblazer, and a list of firsts that opened the doors for those that followed. Among her many accomplishments, she was the first Hispanic woman to be appointed to a 3-person commission of the Texas Department of Human Services by Governor Mark White. She was also elected as the first Hispanic woman as the treasurer of the Texas Democratic Party and the first layperson appointed to the Texas State Bar Association Grievance Committee. She was an active member of the Nueces County Democratic Party, where she held various positions, including president and chairwoman. She served as the Corpus Christi Women's Political Caucus president, which was a multi-partisan effort that helped organize women statewide to lobby for ERA in the early 1970s. And she was vice president of the Coastal Bend Texas Mexican American Women's Political Caucus. In 1988, she enrolled in St. Edward's University, received her degree in public administration, and shortly before that retired from the Texas Workforce Commission. She served as chairwoman, and she was on the board of MHMR, which we now call MHID, and she served on the RTA and was the advisory director for Nueces County. No accomplishment in Miss Vicky's life was greater than the love she had for her family and friends. Her gregarious personality afforded her the opportunity to make many friends. Miss Vicky treated every person she met with dignity, respect, and admiration. She was the life of any party, regardless of the setting. Her hobbies included gardening, traveling, and socializing. And I love this, and aspiring to make the perfect margarita. They would like to, her family would like to acknowledge the compassion and care given to her by Lydia Silvas. And as a matter of fact, her celebration of life begins in just a little while. The visitation begins at 5 o'clock and rosary at 7. Look, Miss Vicky, Vicky Garza was an icon for any female in politics. And she was just a powerhouse in South Texas. And I'm just very, very saddened at this incredible loss of this great lady. And I know so many of us here knew her and loved her, and it was the highlight of my life that she was one of my captains when I ran. And so I know she'll be with me again in spirit in November. Commissioners, I know you wanted to add. Either one, Commissioner Modis.
Sure. Thank you for sharing that, because I didn't know many of those stories about her, but I knew Miss Vicky, Mrs. Garza, as I always referred to her, as just a neighbor, and we lived in the same neighborhood, and she was there at the very beginning when I ran for and got elected to city council, and she was always just a supporter, and always just the perfect professional in how she conducted herself, and how she got people excited about participating in the political process. And even though she was a partisan, she always was just positive about encouraging people to get out and to vote. And so I think what a perfect year and an election year to celebrate her life, and especially on this special day as well. And so I was really saddened to hear about her passing, and we'll miss her. My family will miss her, and she was just a dear, great friend and supporter. And so very saddened of her loss.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Ms. Vicky Garza was a great pioneer in this community. She also was a great mentor to young women, especially those that want to get involved into politics. She was like an A1 politician, and she was a very strong Democrat. She would tell you what she felt and didn't hold back. She will be missed, and our prayers and condolences go out to the family, and hopefully, and God be with them.
It must have been the week that God wanted to send home all the icons, because we lost Willie Davila on the same week. And Willie Juarez Davila was a faithful servant to God and earned his wings after living a full life of 96 years in Corpus Christi. He was born in 1926 to Nicholas and Luisa Davila in Kaufman, Texas. He grew up on the western edge of Nueces County, and years later his brothers and Willie would buy a ranch in Duval County, Texas, where they raised cattle. Willie and his wife Maria worked to ensure his children did the things the right way, respected others, and did well in school, and they passed this on to their grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Willie was a strong person, a hard worker, a positive thinker, a risk-taker, but above all, a person of Christ. He attended St. Joseph Catholic Church. He ran a gasoline station, a small trucking operation, and bought and sold properties. He retired from the Naval Air Station in Corpus Christi as a supervisor. Willie was one of the individuals who was instrumental in helping Dr. Hector Perez Garcia start the American GI Forum. Along with being a founding member of the American GI Forum, the Dr. Hector P. Garcia chapter. He was a loyal member to whatever Dr. Hector needed help with, and he was a part of the group that traveled with Dr. Hector throughout Texas and other states, helping create chapters in various cities and states. When the Texas Rangers, or Rinchas as they were called amongst the Mexicanos, were trying to arrest Dr. Hector, Willie, along with the others, would help hide Dr. Hector and protect him with their lives while on the road. Willie was one of the men, 3 men stayed by Dr. Hector's side until he died, and one of them was Willie Davila. They played dominoes every Saturday when they were in Corpus. Willie was a devout member of the American GI Forum and continued helping the chapters after the doctor's passing. Willie's predeceased by the following family members: his wife and his parents and his brothers. And he has a beautiful family that he's left behind, and children, grandchildren, and nieces and nephews. And our greatest sympathy goes out on behalf of, I know all of us, but in particular to the Garcia and Canales family. This was a very, very, this is the passing of the last of the Mohicans, okay? And we're still fighting the fights that Willie fought and at Dr. Hector's side. And I'm afraid that our people have forgotten the sacrifices that Dr. Hector and Willie and all of them have made. And I know that because of the problems that we're having now in this country and in this state and even in our own community. But Willie Davila serves the testament to what it means to fight for injustice. And he lived a great life. And he taught us, those of us that only heard the stories, that when it's time to make certain that injustices are called out, that we stand up like Willie did. So our greatest condolences to the Davila family. I actually have a few more, but I think that I'm gonna wait because I've decided I really love it when you print them out and you really get a chance to remark on these incredible people's lives. And so thank you again for making certain that we have these adjournments in memory at the end of every meeting. It's 3:41 p.m. and we'll call it at that time. For the clerk, we are off the record and take us down off